Hi there. Welcome to another presentation of the Globe Sound Healing Conference. Now we have Jeffrey Thompson. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome. Jeffrey has been pioneering the clinical use of sound for healing since 1980. He began his work in his Holistic Health Center in Winchester, Virginia, which grew to become the largest facility of its kind in the state at the time. Initially, he used precisely tuned sound frequencies to assist chiropractic spinal adjustments, later expanding into cranial and craniosacral applications. Over 8 years, his research broadened to include acupuncture meridians, organs, glands, and ultimately the brain itself. His discoveries on influencing the autonomic nervous system through sound led him to sell his practice in 1988 and relocate to San Diego to establish a full-time research center. In addition to his clinical background, Dr. Thompson is an accomplished musician and composer. He's internationally recognized for integrating patented brainwave entrainment technologies into musical compositions designed for healing and advanced meditation. His work includes over 90 audio programs distributed worldwide, supported by research studies and professional recognition. His first recording, Isle of Skye, was rapidly adopted by major distributors and the American Hypnotherapy Association. Since then, his sound programs have been widely used medical and holistic professionals. His deep sleep program has been studied by major sleep research institutions and remains an international bestseller. He's also served as faculty at the California Institute for Human Science, teaching behavioral psychoacoustics and clinical neuroacoustic therapy at the graduate level. He continues to offer courses, workshops, and certification programs worldwide. His collaborative work spans partnerships with leading figures such as Deepak Chopra, Louise Hay, as well as research with NASA, UCLA, Duke University, and other institutions. His neuroacoustic technologies are used in medical settings, wellness centers, and homes. I'm just tired reading all that.
Yeah, if you ever think small about yourself, just make yourself a CV. Make yourself a CV and put it on paper. And I mean, if you stick around long enough and your hair gets gray, you've probably done a few things.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Good job. Good job. Okay,
But
so what have you been up to lately?
oh, I mean, we're always. I don't know how to answer that question.
Got 4 hours.
We have, you know, I retired from clinical practice 6, 7 years ago. Uh, because the biotuning thing with the real-time heart rate variability. In other words, when we're going to measure, we can hook you up and measure frequencies that balance your autonomic nervous system. Uh, Sort of the master control system that tells all systems what to do. It's like the internal physician program waking up or something.
Where you're at peace.
And then that became a sort of a thing where we sold these systems to practitioners and trained and certified practitioners, and they're sort of from all over the world. Now we've got this international um, organization called Sky Collective, SKYE, based on my first album, which you mentioned. There it is, Isle of Skye. Yeah, the original cassette, by the way, let me say, you remember these guys? Like,
Wow. Wow.
like those guys?
Wow. I have a box of them somewhere.
Anyway, yeah, so SKYE anyway, this sort of international organization of practitioners was the real work. You can heal more people and help more people rather than being me in a little room seeing as many people as I can see in a day. Um, So that has expanded and expanded, and the software programs have expanded and keeps going through evolutionary stages. We're just about to roll out a completely new stage of the biotuning and the software and the sounds and the whole business. Takes a lot of time. I still teach a lot. I'm still composing. So And one of the aspects is some of what we'll talk about today, the concept of um, sacred images, uh, powerful imagery, mandalas, and yantras, and things like that that have been used in the past to awaken.
Well,
And
before we,
why that might work, because some of these things, like just for instance, the Fibonacci series, if I take a sound, it doesn't even matter what sound, any sound, and play that tone, and then play the next tone, which is 1.618 tuned up from that, and keep going, I'm reproducing the golden section ratio as a sound program, and that there's something deeply recognizable at an unconscious level to that sequence.
somebody said that
Ratio.
actually the heart actually puts out golden mean ratio harmonics when beating, and it goes up and down. The HRV actually has the golden mean in it. So when you're running love, you're getting the golden mean. So you're creating love there.
Well, the heart is a golden section ratio spiral. So the heart muscle, you can unroll it, unwrap it until it's a long strip. It's rolled up in a spiral. So when the electrical discharges go through that muscle, they go in a spiral. The heart muscle is a spiral thing. The heart is crazy anyway. It's the largest electromagnetic field that we have. It's, I remember at one point, it didn't jibe that, one of the characteristics of all the chakras is that each chakra is associated with a gland, an endocrine gland. And um, all of them track, like the adrenals and the pancreas and the pituitary and the pineal and the thyroid. The heart chakra was the only one that didn't have a gland. And I always thought that, maybe it must be the thymus, which sits right on top of the heart, that they're talking about. But then the heart was officially reclassified as an endocrine gland.
Oh, wow.
So the heart is like this electrical organ that's also an endocrine gland that produces three different hormones. So they were right all along. It's really a mind blower to me. And it just sort of goes on and on like that. When I have a good friend that I've known flipping forever, way back in the days when you and I knew each other, back in the '80s when all of us were the madcap crew of I don't know what you would call us. We were explorers in consciousness with tech.
That knew very little and were very hopeful.
Yeah, tech enhancement of consciousness and
Right.
meditation and all the rest of it. And he was one of those. And his whole thing, Jonathan Quinton,
Oh, I know Jonathan really well.
we all know Jonathan. I
Oh,
mean,
it's the best.
and he was like the master of the sacred geometries at that point, and his stuff was mind blowing. I knew him back when he was doing these little skits, for small groups with his constructions. He would make these things out of dowels and stuff, and then paint them luminous paint, the five platonic solids, and he'd show how they nest together, and he would spin them and they'd form patterns that looked like organs, and it was like, and he did it with black light.
I saw God in his presentation. I saw, oh my God, God uses the golden mean to create everything.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
So
oh,
anyway, so there was this interesting project where, so when he's in the US, sometimes he will stay with me in my spare room, and we'll hang out in serious hangout, uh, and so one time when he was in California, he wasn't staying with me at the time. He gives me a call and he says, "Hey, I have a gig coming up with a Deepak Chopra seminar called Seduction of Spirit. 7-day workshop at the San Diego Sheraton, Airport Sheraton. And of course, in classic Deepak style, this workshop is held in the grand ballroom, the biggest ballroom. And then the second grand ballroom is a Deepak store of all the stuff that he sells. I had no idea. I mean, this guy has a whole enterprise of his own, and however, the centerpiece of this workshop was the Sri Yantra. And and I have a picture of it. I'll show you. Let's do the share thing.
Oh.
This is a picture of an old one, an ancient one from India. Can you see my mouse rolling
Yes.
around? So yeah, you can see that there's these 9 triangles interlaced inside of a circle. So for instance, if you follow the mouse, this big triangle right here is one of them. Then there's a big triangle pointing downwards. So there's 5 pointing downwards and 4 pointing upwards. And you're supposed to stare into this central triangle right here and not blink and not move your eyes. And if you sort of do that, you'll see these sort of patterns jumping around. It's this interesting visual illusion thing that happens. It helps if you redraw it like this. Now you can really see. But if you look at the central triangle and you don't blink and don't move your eyes, then all these patterns start to pop in and out. Some come in the foreground, some go in the background, and it's just sort of. And the reason it was called the Sri Yantra, the king of all yantras, the most revered yantra, was because of the place it was supposed to bring you to in meditation. And that place is now being discussed in quantum physics with this concept of the Schrodinger cat paradox and Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, the 2 big legs of the stool. And just as a review for those out there who might not know what that is, that Schrodinger's cat. So Schrodinger is a scientist who on his blackboard with mathematics discovers something so profound about the core nature of reality that he wants to run out and tell everybody, but he can't because only another mathematician could understand the squiggles on the board, right? It's impossible to explain. So he created an allegorical story to illustrate so he could tell his wife. That became the first and most famous thought experiment. That's what it's called, a thought experiment. And so to describe what he saw about the core nature of reality, the thought experiment is Schrodinger's cat paradox. So you've got a cat in a box, and inside the box with the cat is a bottle of cyanide and a hammer suspended above it, and a radioactive detector that's going to determine whether the hammer drops or not, depending on a random depolarization of an atomic particle. So let's just remove that little part and say we've got the cat and the hammer and the bottle of cyanide. We're going to put a lid on and we're going to give the box a shake. Instead of there's a random thing, right? Let's give the box a shake, and either the hammer dropped or not. And if it does drop, it breaks the bottle of cyanide and kills the cat. And if it doesn't drop, the cat's okay. But you don't know which one happened until you lift the lid to take a look, right? So the experiment is we're going to put the cat in the box with the bottle of cyanide, and we're going to put the lid on. Now we can't see what's going on. We're going to give it a shake. We're a scientist. We're going to take some notes. And then 2 minutes later, we're going to lift the lid and take a look. And let's say the cat's dead. And now you can say, well, okay, when I shook the box 2 minutes ago, the hammer dropped and killed the cat. And in reality, what his math showed was that that's not so. 2 minutes ago, when you shook the box, the cat entered into a twilight zone state of living/dead cat. It hasn't been decided yet. It's a potential to be one of the two, but it can't manifest until consciousness arrives on the scene to witness what happened, which means the squiggles on his blackboard showed that consciousness itself is a requirement for reality to exist. It's not just a thing that might happen, spontaneously or by accident on some planet, someplace in the universe. It's the central core of the manufacturing of reality in the moment. And until consciousness arrives on the scene to witness, reality exists in a potential state to be anything. In this case, we're just narrowing it down to two things, a living or a dead cat. So that means that I shake the box and 2 minutes later I lift the lid and I look and I see a dead cat and I think, okay, 2 minutes ago when I shook the box, the cat died. No, 2 minutes ago when I shook the box, the cat entered into the twilight zone state, and only now when I lift the lid did the past event happen. That the cat died 2 minutes ago because I just created that right now.
So that's the basis of reality is all an illusion. Although, who was it Einstein that said, although that illusion sure is persistent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I call it a dream with teeth. So the core idea here is that reality, as we can measure it, consistently proves to be an ecological universe getting the most work with the least amount of energy expended. That everything is geared to save energy, and in our bodies is geared to save life energy. So the body follows the same rules, and that's why we have such a magnificent machine that we've got here, where everything is perfectly tuned up to squeeze out the most gas mileage from the tailpipe. And uh, it's sort of like if you've ever played an online video game where you've created a character and you've created like a spaceship and you're on some foreign planet and you can walk around, you can look at things and you can interact with other people and you can shoot bandits and all the rest, and they can kill you. And it seems super hyper real. But when I'm in that game and I'm looking this way and I'm scanning around, I'm looking around, everything is behind me that in my mind, I just saw it, I know it's there, uh, is not there when I'm not looking at it. Because the game is doing the same thing. It's got memory resources it has to conserve. It's not going to render the stuff behind me and take all that memory if I'm not looking there. It's only going to render it when I turn around and take a look. And when I turn around, the stuff that I was looking at disappears. And this is very similar to what quantum physicists constantly describe about the nature of reality associated with Schrodinger's cat paradox, that when I'm here with you and I'm looking at my computer screen and on it is a picture of you and we're having a conversation, I know that behind me is my piano and a bunch of lights and a bunch of things, and but they just disappeared. I'm looking at you now, and that's not rendered right now. That's a pretty crazy concept to think of. You know, the deeper issue is when we start getting towards the question of me creating my own reality and me manifesting the reality that I want
That's the whole deal.
instead of the one I've got. And that gets to the core question of what was talked about in the Upanishads and the Sutras of Patanjali, which tracks almost exactly with quantum physics and what they're saying about the nature of reality. And the kahunas in Hawaii really had it down in a very simple way, that the shamans, holy people from Hawaii, the kahunas. Huna is this concept that God grants all prayers. Therefore, my present experience is what I've prayed for in the past. And prayer happens before a thought. So it's not this part. This part is powerless. This part is a creation of. It's big mind down here who knows how to grow my body out of two cells and manifest the entire universe uh, before a thought. It's got an emotion at its core that when I yearn for something, and it's an emotional yearning, and I have a picture of what I'm yearning for, that I want out of life. I want a perfect life. I want perfect health. I want perfect love. I want perfect abundance. Whatever it is, that I don't wish for to have $1 billion. I uh, I wish for the freedom that would give me. That I would have, there would be a concern that would leave me at a subconscious level and go off my shoulders if I had all the resources I ever need to do anything I want.
So the next step is if also it gives you the resources to have it go through you to help others.
To whatever, for whatever
Right.
reason.
Right.
So hopefully that if your spirit is pure, that would be what you would first want to do with that money. That you realize you've got more money than you could ever spend and you're surrounded by suffering and you can do something about it. Uh, that's what we hope for humanity. That's what we hope for ourselves, that I would be that person. But at the core of how I manifest that is, it's by the way, it's partly why I have this fantasy of creating a T-shirt company with all these cool sayings. And one of the sayings is, waking up sucks.
Picking up what?
Waking up sucks.
Thoughts?
Sucks.
Oh,
SUCKS. Or SUX. Waking up SUX. Because when you wake up, it's your heart that wakes up too. And your empathy wakes up. And even though you're having glorious realizations about the nature of reality, you're surrounded by a sea of suffering. And there's a responsibility that comes with waking up that you can't shuck off and ignore it, because you have something called conscience and consciousness that comes from the heart, that you can't not do something. That if you had all the resources in the world, billions and billions of dollars, then I'm going to give every person on earth $1 million. Or whatever. I mean, anyway, the point I'm getting towards here is back to the kahunas. That if my desire is to have perfect love in this life, then I'm looking for somebody who looks a certain way. A certain color hair and eyes and certain body type and a certain income maybe or whatever. And the universe is there taking notes going, this is pretty detailed. It's going to take me a few lifetimes to fill this order, you know. But if I do the kahuna thing and I realize none of that matters, that when I meet this person, electricity is going to happen and goosebumps are going to happen, and I'm going to know it 100% that this is the one. And I know it in here. Something happens here that is this feeling of love is what I really want. I want to be in a trust relationship where I can be 100% open and be me and have this person do the same and have it be completely okay. Um, that's what I'm praying for from the kahuna sense before a thought. I'm looking for this sensation, this feeling, this love thing, and then the universe goes, "Oh, that's it? Oh, no problem. I can fill that order in 100 different ways."
There's one thing, 'cause I thought about, I do this in my classes a lot and talk about it. There's when I work on with negative beliefs, yearning or wishing, the sound of that is that's not going to get it for you. What you have
No,
to go for is you already got it, and you go woo, and spirit goes, okay, we'll match it.
well, you just make it so that you go inside and you find what it is you're really asking for, and you have to flesh it out because most people don't do that. Most people are going, so God comes to you and says, "Hey, you can have anything you want. All you have to do is ask for it without words, before a thought, with your heart." And most people have no idea what to do there. So, and most people have never contemplated fleshing out what I'm looking for. It's more of, I don't want to be poor anymore. I don't want to be alone anymore. I don't want to be sick anymore, as opposed to what would real health feel like in your heart? Um, so coming around of how you sort of ask, and this brings us to the point of Schrodinger's cat paradox and the Sri Yantra. You didn't think I was going to come around to that, did you? No.
I always trust, always trust.
um, and that has to do with that if I can arrive, that now is all that exists, and that a billionth of a second from now, or that just passed, is an illusion. It's a memory or an anticipation. Now is all that exists, simultaneous with the moment. And that means there's no room for thought because thinking takes time to fire a signal down a neuron of a thought. So in reality, one of the problems with deep meditation throughout all of history has been that is thinking mind that exists in time who has to get the job and make the money and buy the books and afford to take the meditation classes and do all the meditation work and all the other stuff until I worked hard enough. I'm finally actually getting to a point where I could reach right now. And my small mind has a tantrum and says, wait a second, I'm not going to get to go. I'm the one who did all the work. I'm the one who made all the money. It's like, and I'm not going to get to go when it finally comes down to it. So you have to have this like sweet talk conversation and convince it'll be just fine. Where I'm going, I'm going to bring all these goodies back to you and load you up with all kinds of cool ideas and information and uh, uh, so that moment where you finally arrive at the doorstep of the next moment from now is the key point, because that's the key point where if you think about it, there's a scientist here in San Diego, Fred Allen Wolf, who was in that movie, the what the bleep do I know? He was the white-haired scientist guy. He wrote his book called Starwave, and in that book, he takes on the Schrodinger cat paradox and says, this whole thing about cats and boxes, I mean, that doesn't relate to my life. I can't quite see how that relates to me. So he took it on and he reinvented it. That since right now is all that exists, the next moment from now is the cat in the box. That's the closed box. The next moment from now is the closed box. And you're going to arrive in the next moment from now, and the lid's going to fly off, and consciousness is going to arrive on the scene. And what's in the box is not a cat, it's an infinite field of all possibilities that could possibly exist in all dimensions in the mind of God. The whole plate is there, stretching to infinity. And it's your choice. What's the next moment going to be? And the
I got a question that right here that's really appropriate. If you're in the moment, how can you think about the future to manifest something?
you can't. It's here.
Right. So
It's
it's
just
just
so it's
there,
this.
but there is something. It's like if you're gonna even visualize or feel a relationship or money or helping the planet or whatever, you have to think into the future and think that's what I want in the future, and then you come back to the moment and just do it. Because
No, that's what most people experience is the uh, less than 100% being here in the moment,
right, right.
where there's still an
But
element of a thing.
I would think of when you're in the moment, there's this state of consciousness, which is kind of left and right brain, I was told, where you're actually watching in the moment and you can actually manifest while in the moment.
It's the witness.
Hmm.
It's the witness that Gurdjieff talked about, the and the every minute Zen and Trungpa Rinpoche with meditation in action. Work on yourself. This thing that there's an objective witness that's full floating in floatus position behind you, watching your every move in a neutral state, an objective state.
And allows you to still be in the moment.
That can be in the moment while it watches you behave in various ways and have thoughts in your head and emotions. Um, the the concept that from the standpoint of Fred Alan Wolf and his take on the Schrodinger-Cat paradox is moment by moment by moment is going by, like a movie, frames in a movie. Um, and right now, we are creating frames, and then we're having this discussion. And every frame has a possibility of an infinite field of all possibilities to choose one, anything. So that means that the next moment from now, we could just as easily be jellyfish in another dimension instead of my next word. And the the difficulty is, why is it always my next word? Why is there a continuity here that we can create, that I keep talking and you keep reacting and we have a conversation, and uh, why is it moment after moment after moment we keep choosing this one? And the answer to that is in the Upanishads, that when consciousness arrives on the doorstep of the next moment with the infinite field of all possibilities, uh, I don't come with a clean slate. Consciousness arrives with an expectation that this is what reality looks like. Reality is populated with things and couches and stuff on walls and people with bodies. Um, that's what reality looks like, and it's so solid that we're so tied into that we expect the next moment to be me talking. And that expectation galvanizes one of the possible outcomes in the infinite field. One of those outcomes has a special significance because I just gave it that by my expectation. And that's what the universe is constantly looking for as a path of least resistance, because the universe is ecological, trying to save energy. So I just provided it with a way to save energy by galvanizing one outcome with my expectation. And the universe always follows that because that's the law of the universe.
It's just
The
patterning, and you could actually go to another dimension and change your whole
You
life
could
in
change
just a
it,
second.
but it happens in your consciousness in a special way. So I believe that's the territory of the spontaneous remission, where the inoperable tumor just magically disappears. Because something about the emotion associated with getting a cancer death sentence of an inoperable tumor in your brain or something, uh, is powerful enough to penetrate through into the deep part where I have a moment. And in that moment, part of my spirit stands up and says, no, I don't think so. I am not going to live that story. I'm not going to be the guy who dies of some stupid tumor in my brain. Ain't going to happen. And bang, you change that outcome. And now you've either recreated reality where you don't have the tumor, or you stepped into a parallel universe of infinite parallel universes where every possible outcome could be there, and you stepped into one with no tumor.
This is so important. I got a diagnosis about 4 years ago. Actually, a medical intuitive psychic said that I had blood clots in my leg because it was really sore. He said, "You got to go to the doctor." And I got an ultrasound. I had a blood clot from my hip to my ankle. And
Holy
when the
shit.
doctor said that, I immediately went,
No.
done deal. No, it'll be gone. And I knew I was in danger. If the second I went into fear, I would be really in danger. And I was really, in fact, I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want anybody going, oh, that's a
To support the
bummer.
manifestation of that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's a
Yeah.
bummer. It's like,
Yeah.
shut up, shut up. Yeah, it's huge. It should be against the law to give a diagnosis.
Well, it's called, uh, negative programming.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, seriously, in a hospital, when they give you a diagnosis, instead of statistics of how many
it's the
people die,
nocebo effect,
right? Let's go. Okay, this is exactly what you need to do to be in the 50% where it goes away. It's proven. It's
Yeah.
proven. It
Yeah.
works.
And so that's all swirling around this concept of me at the doorstep coming into a place of myself, of real reality with conscious and consciousness, and choosing a different outcome than what I've got. And that moment is the most important moment in recognized in all of meditation uh, cultures, that this moment when I can change reality in the next moment is the most important. And that's what the Sri Yantra as a diagram was supposed to bring you to. And that's why it's called the Sri. The king of all states of consciousness is the state where you reach the present moment and see the pattern of how it all works and can choose the perfect pattern through some intuitive now process that is indescribable, because the only descriptions we have is heart or mind or idea. It's beyond all that stuff. It's impossible to describe, but the pattern of perfection is what you see, and then you can form yourself in reality into that pattern. And the pattern was represented by the mathematics of the Sri Yantra. Let me share that again.
Why do you think it works? I've got an idea. Or is that what you're going to get into?
Yes,
Okay, cool. Cool. I'll
this
tell you my idea later.
so profound. Uh, you know, and here's Jonathan Quinton telling me that he's been asked by the Deepak Chopra people to do this presentation on the Sri Yantra because the Sri Yantra was the centerpiece of this Seduction of Spirit workshop, 7-day workshop. And so he's going to give a presentation, a visual presentation on the Sri Yantra, where he assembles each triangle separately at a time and constructs the Sri Yantra as a slideshow. And my job is to translate it into sound. And that's when I got into like the deepest study of the Sri Yantra, and I never thought I was going to be doing the mathematics of these relationships. And my solution to that was to really understand each of these triangles and number them, right? So this one is triangle number 1. This big one pointing down is number 6. This one right here is number 3. Once they're numbered, you can start to make sense of this. Each is a different shape, and they're all encased in a circle. And sort of as soon as I started looking at that way, the answer just sort of came to me from some other place, that it's ratios. That if I calculate the area of the circle, which is pi r squared, high school math, and have it represented by a tone, let's say 100 hertz represents the area of the circle, and now I'm going to use a different high school math formula to calculate the area of this largest number one triangle. And that's got to do with the hypotenuse, and I can't remember exactly what the formula is. But once you calculate the area of one of these triangles, you have a ratio between the area of the triangle and the area of the circle that encloses it, and that ratio is a percentage. And now you've got 9 percentage ratios of triangles to circle. And once the area of the circle is a tone, like 100 hertz, I remember offhand that this biggest number one triangle is 39.8% of the area of the circle. So 39.8% of 100 hertz is 39.8 hertz. And that's how I did it with each one of the triangles to create the sonic Sri Yantra. And then, of course, you can raise them all by 43 octaves and have the color for each one. I created that as a soundtrack, which was the craziest soundtrack sort of I ever made, because it's not music. It's these 9 very interestingly tuned to each other frequencies. And the tuning of each of those triangle tones are all within the critical bandwidth of each other, which is what generates binaural beats. So that means we have a 10-layered binaural beat brainwave pattern of Sri Yantra consciousness, which historically brings you to the doorstep of the next moment from now.
Oh my God, I have to tell you, maybe it's not a good time, but I'll tell you anyway right now. Randy Masters, our
Yeah.
instructor, he actually measured the ratios of every side of every triangle. So if this one is this length, like 3, and this one happens to be 2, that's a musical fit, and created chimes, physical chimes with those musical intervals based on the ratios of the lengths of the sides of every one of those triangles you just pointed out.
Yeah, I did something similar. Let me show you. Let's go back to this diagram. So you can see that these 9 triangles, but if you look at it a different way, there's 23 triangles. That's a triangle, that's a triangle, that's a triangle. All of these are triangles. And so track 2 of the Sri Yantra soundtrack was 23 tones. Each of these triangles. Track 1 is the 9 triangles. Because who's to say which is correct? It's which is quote right. What else do I have here? I did, and of course, when these all in a relationship become 10 layers of binaural beats, that's reminiscent of C. Maxwell Cade's work, where he showed that the brain states of consciousness are really patterns of multiple brain frequencies interrelated together. And he found one pattern that showed up so many times, he called it the awakened mind pattern, where right left hemispheres are synchronized and the dominant frequencies are alpha, theta. So if you draw a picture of what the brain entrainment frequencies for the Sri Yantra would be, you would also see dominant zones of alpha, theta.
And different lobes are doing the alpha and the theta and such.
Yeah, right, left hemispheres are synchronized
Uh-huh.
because you're doing binaural beats and that synchronizes the hemispheres. I got contacted by the National Labyrinths Association to do the same thing with the labyrinth. And that was way more complicated because you've got 13 different levels here that are all different sounds, different diameters, subtracting these spaces. The centerpiece alone, this one is complex. Here's the 11 pathways and the center with fancy schmancy math. The centerpiece is a phenomenon all of its own. The math just to do this part was pretty intense. But that ended up with a 12 tones in the Sonic Labyrinth soundtrack, where ultimately when you enter into this path and you start walking the labyrinth path, which takes a lot of concentration, which eventually puts you into this meditative state, labyrinth consciousness meditation. You could either trace this while listening to the soundtrack or walk the labyrinth itself with headphones on, playing the soundtrack of the sound of the mathematics. This one here is my latest concept of the 11th harmonic. That was my latest album. The 11th harmonic is so we know that we've got harmonic thirds and fifths and sevenths and ninths, but the harmonic 11th has been known throughout history as the special one. It's the only harmonic that is not consonant or dissonant. It's in this funny neutral place that is objective, the objective mind that we were just talking about. It's this special state of objectivity, neutrality in the emotions.
And then Anthony Holland used that, a high frequency for cancer and the 11th harmonic to actually destroy cancer cells.
Yeah, that once you start digging into something you haven't heard of before, you find out there's this whole world there. you know, but the 11th harmonic. So if you create music in a certain keynote, whatever that keynote is, and you calculate the 11th harmonic of that, and you use that as a brainwave entrainment binaural beat frequency, now you're entraining your brainwaves to an 11th harmonic state. That was a concept here, except the fundamental frequency you use, it would be better if it had some kind of cosmic meaning instead of something random, right? So I chose the value of pi, 3.1416, raised and raised and raised and raised by octaves until it becomes a tone, and then you're in the key of that. And that lends itself to another album I'm putting together, which is pi. That the entrainment would be pi. And so once again, the whole concept there is with these sacred geometric images is to evoke recognition at a deep enough level of the subconscious mind that participated in the manufacturing of the universe at large based on mathematical principles that are represented by these sacred geometric ratios and mathematics. And there's something deep there that the subconscious that can be awakened from witnessing those or hearing the acoustic counterpart. That's the idea.
It's like, you know what I'm into, and it's similar to what you're doing, is to actually map out all the frequencies and ratios of everything in the body. But now we should ultimately, where we're headed now, and the guides haven't given this download yet, that is to find all the geometries in the body.
Yeah. All that stuff was in the Library of Alexandria. It all been worked out,
Right. We just gotta dig it up from somewhere.
So yeah, I mean, human beings are weird.
Just had this intuitive that I like actually, not for predictions because they all suck at that. But she actually told me there's a geometry between the brain, the heart, and the thymus, and the actual um, what's the other one? The organ that people don't know what it does. The
The
but
appendix?
what's that?
Appendix? We
No,
know what
not
it does, though.
no. I'm
An
blanking on
organ
it.
that nobody knows what it does? What is
Well, in
that?
Chinese medicine, it's like the connection to spirit. Or and Alice Bailey talks about it being a connection to source also. It's the um I'm blanking on. Anyway, there
That's
was a sacred
that sounds like the key point of the,
it's about
like
here.
an inch.
It's about here.
I don't know what that is.
I'm blanking on it. I'll put it in later. So it's the anyway, she said there's a very specific geometry that if you run energy, it creates a very specific triangle for universal love.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can believe that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
the I mean biologically
Spleen was the one I was thinking of.
the
Spleen.
spleen is like up here.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Spleen is one of those chakra organs that the spleen and pancreas are part of that one chakra, and both of those they're both endocrine glands. The spleen is a dual gland, and so is the pancreas, a dual gland. Those are both on the same acupuncture meridian. The spleen meridian also has the pancreas. So the pancreas, the head and the tail, one produces insulin and the other produces pancreatic enzymes for digesting. And the spleen is dual in its passive phase. Uh, all your blood enters into the spleen and it goes into this unimaginable maze that goes down and down smaller and smaller until the tubes are so small that each red blood cell has to squeeze through and change its shape into an elongated shape to pass through this tube. And the friction of that tube on the wall of the red blood cell will rupture the red blood cell if it's over 120 days old. So it's a perfect way of recycling red blood cells and spilling all their contents out, absorbing those and making and shuttling them over to the bone marrow to recycle the red blood cells contents. That's the spleen in its passive phase. In its active phase, it's the largest lymph node in your body, part of your immune system.
Oh, wow. Wow. So
Uh,
I just got one huge question. Who the hell put this all together?
yeah, there you go.
I
That's
mean,
right.
it's like, it's
That's
unbelievable. I
right.
mean, if you want proof
No,
of God, just
I'm
look at the
saying
body.
that's what I say. If anybody who doesn't believe in God, take an anatomy and physiology course. It'll
Right.
blow your mind. I
It's
mean,
unbelievable, the detail.
unbelievable. I mean, so in uh, the ear is the most sensitive organ we have by far. The human eardrum, the tympanum, is sensitive to the pressure of less than a diameter of an atom. And how that's possible is when you look at the architecture of the ear, the sound waves, we're sound beings. We shoot sound shaped sound wave packets at each other that we call language. So I form the packet in my mouth and shape it and shoot it to you. And that wave packet only, a little percentage point goes down the ear canal and activates the tympanum. The rest of it hits your body as a wavefront. And that pressure wave distorts the shape of your cells and flips their polarity to the opposite and initiates a piezoelectric effect wave in the shape of the sound wave that passes through the microtubules of your body and generates an electrical pulse of the sound in you. you know, but just with the ear, this sound is being funneled down the ear and amplified as the shape goes to the, focuses it to the eardrum, and the eardrum moves back and forth with each wave packet, moves those three little bones in the middle ear, right? The hammer, anvil, and the stapes. Remember those guys? And each of those three bones has a joint. There's a little joint there, smallest joint in the body, with the joint capsule and everything. And wrapped around the joint capsule are little tiny muscles that none of us know about. And those muscles are the dampening of sounds that are too loud.
Yeah, compressor limiters. They're
Right.
a compressor
And
limiter in recording. They turn the
but
volume
at the
down when
other
it gets too loud.
but at the other end, there's a triple lever system that the best way to lift 1,000 pound boulder is with your brain, with know-how. That I have a rock and a 8 foot long 2x4, and I've got a fulcrum point and a lever, and it's easy to use 50 pounds at the end of the lever to lift the 1,000 pound boulder. And there's math involved about how long and where's the fulcrum point, um, but let's say that I'm too weak. I don't have 50 pounds, but I'm smart. So I create a second lever with a new fulcrum point to push the end of that lever with another fulcrum point that only needs 5 grams to push 50 pounds to push the 1,000 pounds. And then as an experiment, I'm going to take a third lever, which needs 0.00000 grams to push 1 gram to push 50 pounds to push the 1,000 pound boulder. That's a triple lever system, which you never see except in the ear. That's the triple lever system of those three bones in the middle ear. That means that we're taking sound waves in air, focusing them to the eardrum, magnifying them with a triple lever system almost to an infinite value before it hits the second eardrum. Most people don't realize we've got three eardrums. The cochlea of the inner ear filled with fluid has got two eardrums. One's called the round window, where the third bone of those three bones attaches to the tympanum and this other round window eardrum. And the pushing against that eardrum creates a fluid wave in the shape of the sound. So really what's going on is we're translating airwaves into sound waves because sound travels through water 5 times better. So we just amplified it with a triple lever system to infinity and then magnified that another 5 times in fluid. Right. And the fluid is two chambers, perilymph and endolymph, with the basal membrane in between with the little hairs and the nerve endings to the acoustic nerve.
A hair for
And,
every frequency.
and both of those fluids are electrolytes, and the electrolytes are exactly opposite proportions of potassium sodium. So it creates an electrical charge on the basal membrane, which amplifies the whole thing once again, right? One of those fluids, perilymph, by the way, is the only place in the body where cerebral spinal fluid that normally bathes the brain and spinal cord exits out into and fills the inner ear. That's cerebral spinal fluid in there, which means your hearing mechanism is connected directly to your brain. Then the cochlea of the inner, the thing filled with fluid, is in a special portion of the skull. You know me, happen to have a skull. And inside this skull, there's an area of the bone in the skull which houses. So here's the skull. Here's there's the ear right there. And on the inside of that are the wings. Let's sort of do it this way. Are these things that look like bat wings with a ridge There's a ridge here, and there's a ridge here. And in that ridge is the inner ear, the cochlea, housed in a special little section of bone in the mastoid process. All of the bones in the body have trabecula, these little openings, these little spongy openings in the bone. All your bones have trabecula, so the bones are 60% hollow, makes them more flexible, makes them lighter. Otherwise, you'd weigh 360 pounds just by bones. So now they're lighter, they're more flexible, actually stronger, more supple. And inside the tubercular housing is the bone marrow, where we manufacture red blood cells, double duty. Um, Even in the skull, manufacturing red blood cells in the trabecula of skull bones. There's only one place in the body where it breaks its own rule, where there's 100% solid bone with no trabecula, and that's what's called the petrous portion of the temporal bone in the bat wings. The place where the cochlea filled with fluid resides in a pocket of bone that's 100% solid with no trabecula. Petrous, as in petrified bone. Question is why? Why would the body break its own rule when everything the body does is on purpose? No accidents here. It's worked it all out over the millennia because sound travels through a solid 5 times better than it does through water. So the whole damn mechanism I just described is amplified another 5 times.
We're not even talking about the ocular nerve of going from the going to the
Well,
brain.
all those, the basal membrane with all those little hairs, with all the little nerves bundling together into the acoustic nerve, which blends and weaves together with the semicircular canals for balance, right? Is the
Right, right.
vestibular nerve and the acoustic nerve. There's something extremely important about my position in three-dimensional space that's deeply tied together with sound and processing in my brain.
Okay, so
That's
so
the
let's.
reason why when you do 3D sound, psychoacoustic 3D sound recordings,
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
tap that system.
Yeah, yeah. Or even same with the crystal bowl that actually floats around the room. It's actually unbelievable that the curve on the bottom of the bowl creates a phase relationship exactly like a sound going around you. That's bizarre. That's bizarre, right? It's 3D sound. Okay, so here's where I would like to see if you could take this, because if anybody could do it, it would be you. So how, with all those systems, how does that all tie into oneness and unity consciousness where all is known? I got one thing I can say to get you going. Okay. So this is what I was going to say about the Sri Yantra. What I've learned is probably from you, because that's where a lot of stuff comes from, is that when you tune into multiple things at once, you go into a state of theta, like sparkles on the water, a view, all of the
Yeah.
sounds in a mix, all of the frequencies in a gong, and all of the detail of the Sri Yantra. It takes you out of the prefrontal cortex, which is one thing at a time, and goes into the right brain, which makes you, you know, the whole brain starts working again. That was my first thought when I was looking at the Sri Yantra. Was that?
There's a sort of a global synchronization event where it all comes together. And the magnificence of it is beyond the brain's capacity to take it in. That it really literally blows your mind. Your mind blows itself open. It can't take it in. It's too vast and too intricate and too mind-blowing and too amazing that you enter into this state where your mind is just this open absorption thing, and your heart is the same way. Your heart is in this amazing position where it doesn't know what emotion is supposed to be feeling to describe what's happening to it. So it's like simultaneously fear with all your hair standing on end, and awe and love and it's an impossible thing to describe because it's beyond anything you've sort of ever experienced. And when you come back and you try to describe it, there's no words for it.
All is known. Often, all I remember being in that state once and thinking, I have the answer to every question in the universe right
Yeah,
now, if I
it's
could
all
just
there.
think of the question.
Well, to me, it was like, oh my God, it's all so obvious that why would there ever be any questions? It's all right in front of your face. It's reflected everywhere in fractal designs in everything repeated all around you as this magnificent, mind-blowing, in-your-face statement.
And it's
It
100%
takes,
in the moment.
I started really thinking that it takes a lot of work and a lot of energy to be asleep.
That's funny. I
That
love that.
you just relax away and kabang, there it is in full-blown glory. It's like to not have that, to not be there, takes a lot of work to be stupid.
It's just unbelievable that this whole system in detail that you got into just a little bit is actually tied into this possibility as well. It's really, I mean, it's just, I just want to cry,
Wow,
when I think of like the who put this together. It's just
put it together.
unbelievable.
Yeah, well, and then you realize that who put it together is a sort of you, but in the biggest possible sense. So back in once again back to the ancient scripts from India, Sanskrit, the sutras, where it describes that in a hypothetical time before time existed, the infinite, spirit, the infinite intelligence, or whatever name you could possibly put to it, the infinite Godhood, uh, decided to experience Godhood in every possible way that it could have, which is to divide itself into an infinite number of finite parts, an infinite number of finite shards of the total personality of the Godhood, each coalesced into form of a you and a me and a cat and a spider, and witness reality from an infinite number of stories at once, every story that could ever be told in parallel universes extending into infinity, in the grandest story of all time, to experience Godhood from an infinite number of standpoints at once. And so, from that standpoint, it means that each one of those shards that manifests as some being is then caused to forget and then enters into the greatest heroic journey of all time to find out the true nature of myself. And when, and it's sort of described, Mihir Baba described this really well, that pour your drop into my ocean and become the ocean which in reality you are, where the ocean of all infinite consciousness, where all this comes from, moment by moment, is composed of an infinite number of drops of water. And one drop decides to exit from the ocean to experience its dropness. That's you and me. And is caused to forget and goes on the great heroic journey to find out the true nature of its soul, which is the ocean, and finds a stream and starts following it back. And when it enters back into the ocean, you now have your individuality and the universal all sort of mixed up together. To me, that's what death is all about. It's your drop returns to the ocean. You don't disappear, but your boundary is imperceptible.
Seems like this is the number one thing we can do to change the planet is to actually create technologies, which you're on the way, you're already there to create it, and I'd like to work with you on it to actually be able to get people into this oneness state and make it like a game. So it's so much fun that kids
Yeah.
and adults and people that are really, really into their business and left brain totally love it. So before you know it, everybody's blissed out, one with the universe, heart open, and the planet is completely changed.
Oh, that's what I'm up to.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's really,
Yeah,
I think it's the number one.
here's the interesting thing, as because the world is such an absolute bizarre place, how do we end up of all the infinite number of possibilities of in the field that we as a consciousness community could by consensus vote create. All right. We have our collective hand on the Ouija board and we're spelling out words for the next sentence that creates the next moment. Why is it this one? Why, of all the infinite ones that we could choose, is this the one that we chose? Historically, that's what happens when nobody's minding the store. That that either my life is a cork in the ocean being battered around by random waves, and I'm reacting to what each wave brings to me as an experience, and I react to that. Uh, or I get a sense of what I'm here for. I see a path, and I start pursuing that path to find out the nature of my soul and what it's really all about. And now it switches. I'm putting pressure on the universe. I'm becoming an active force, and the universe becomes passive to me. It's either I'm passive and the universe is active and battering me around, or I get a purpose and a focus and an agenda, and I start moving towards that with purpose, and I become an active force in the universe. It begins to conform to me. That's how the system works. It's pretty simple. Uh, and as I go along, I make mistakes and get bloody noses and learn the ropes and start to understand that it's not something that what I'm pursuing is not something that I can know. It's a heart field or something that I can feel that I know when it's right. And pretty soon I'm trying to do something and the doors are closed and I'm getting a bloody nose and all of a sudden I'm going, this isn't working. And I realize that's wrong. The universe has got an open door somewhere. I should be looking for the open door. And when I go through that door, things get easy. And then I start straying off that with my personal agenda and I get a closed door and a bloody nose again. And pretty soon I start to learn that as soon as I get the first taste of a door closed, I start looking for an open door so I don't get a bloody nose. And pretty soon it starts to flow because as soon as that happens, the doors start opening for themselves one after another, and the people start showing up that you could never have cold called or banged on doors enough to meet. And it all begins to self assemble. And that's always the sign that it's right. And that's what I see happening in the world right now, the self assembly of the light workers who get it and who
It's
have a piece of the puzzle and the plan that it all starts to gel for you. And in that gelling is meeting other people who are doing the same thing because it's a group effort.
right,
It's not just me, it's us.
right, right.
It's
Oh
a
my God.
symbiotic relationship that has to assemble itself, and you have to surrender and surf that flow.
I just got it about 7 or 8 years ago. The whole thing that creates the flow is when it's service, when it's for,
Service,
yeah, service for the,
not you.
yeah,
It's
yeah, not personal. I mean, you got to take care of yourself so you can do service, right? But once you got your needs met, it's all service. It's all service, and spirit kicks in big time.
there's this cool sort of image story from the ancient Indian texts once again, where uh, we have a massive infinite dinner party of the angels and the devils. You know this one? And all this food is there and everybody's helping themselves and God snaps his fingers and everybody's elbows get frozen. So now you can't get the food to your mouth. So everybody's like And so the devil table is grabbing the food and trying to hit their mouth and is going all over their face. And the angels start to feed each other. It's there. It
Oh my
is
God.
us together. There's
Right.
nothing more valuable than what in the Middle East is called an essence friend. It's not just a friendship. It's a friendship based on mutual uh, moving along your path. And in that path, you meet many other paths. And those people have a recognition at a deeper level. That friendship is based on something that is solid no matter what happens.
Yeah. So we're about out of time. Is there some music you want to play?
Out of time?
That's what happens when you're out of time the whole time.
Oh my God. Yeah, I have a piece I can play that's let's see here. How about a little section of the 11th harmonic?
You want to just end with that?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you for all you
Yep.
do. I always get so inspired. And
I just mutual inspiration. I mean, I
uh,
still blows my mind the organization that you've managed to put together with the Globe Institute and the college and the courses and the I mean, really, I have a hard time getting two people over for dinner.
you've created some pretty cool networks yourself, though.
Well, yeah, that's my strong point. This one is yours, and I tip my hat to you for it. It's like
Thank you.
pretty
Thank you.
mind-blowing what you've put together.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for that. And so this is just a short little piece on, and it's best with headphones. It's a very cool kind of new experience that you probably haven't had before. So
Cool.
here we go.
All right. Take care.
Hi, I'm Jen Cunnings, and I'm going to be just sharing with you a sound bath with a little light language transmission. So just sit back, close your eyes, get comfortable, and receive. Mitorore sanamara taraharaki. Shonoro korbe sanaraki le itaraharaki. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Sending many blessings.
Hi there. Welcome to another presentation of the Globe Sound Healing Conference. Now we had Jen Cunning. Hi, Jen.
Hi, David.
So Jen is an energy alchemist, sound healer, and spiritual teacher who guides people into deeper embodiment through voice, vibration, and consciousness work. Through sound healing, meditation, and light language transmissions, she helps others awaken their innate capacity for healing and transformation. What have you been up to lately?
All of what you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still see clients one-on-one, but I've been drawn more to do connections with groups. And so energy healing, guiding people through meditations and then weaving in sound and light language and toning, teaching people how to do that themselves, and just being consistent in terms of like showing up in my little world and my groups and bringing a little more light to the world, hopefully.
Cool. Okay, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do to help people?
I would do what I'm doing now, but I would teach people at a larger scale, which is like we all have the ability to heal ourselves, right? We all have this power, this infinite consciousness, this pure state of love that we are. And my favorite quote is Rumi's, "It's not our job to seek for love, but to seek and find all the barriers that we've built against it," which is healing, right? Like we're clearing all the noise, all the traumas, all the wounds, so we can return to that place within ourselves and, teach the world to sing, right? Teach the world to heal, teach them that that's a possibility within themselves and that we all have that power and that capacity.
So when did it all change and you went from just playing instruments or singing to the world opened up into another realm?
Yeah. Gosh, I'm like, I know when it happened, it was like my throat chakra was like clenched down, and I was already in energy healing, but I hadn't incorporated sound. But I knew it was something that needed to come through. Like I knew there was like gigantic blocks here, old persecution wounds, whatever you want to call them, childhood.
Being a woman.
Yes, being a woman, stuff in the way.
Right.
And there was a couple things. Judy Satori, I found her light language. Like this was like 20 years ago, but it wasn't that original time. It was kind of that interest in light language. And then I took a course with Dr. Paul Hubbard. He teaches a course called Holographic Sound Healing. And it was like, this is like just right pre-COVID, maybe like 2018, 2017 or something. And I just remember like coming home, like in that class of, oh, I'm finally able to but just realize the power of my voice. And, we were working with the Hathors and we were just having all these full experiences, but it wasn't that it was like, oh, that like set off another like 2 years of daily practices of singing, toning, light language, like, and then ultimately I was asked by my higher self to like start doing sound bowl ceremonies every week. And then it was like, oh, and you have to do the light language and the toning with that. I was like, so it was like I can look back now and see, the breadcrumbs, but it was through, which I was telling you about before we hopped on the camera, like it was through the consistent practice. It was through recognizing like I had more to share. Like there wasn't the fullness of me coming through, not just my voice, but my being. But this was where the main blocks were. And it took me a couple of years, to really break through some of the deeper layers of oppression and filters and all that stuff. Yeah.
It's interesting, I was just thinking about myself if I were to be asked the same question. It's really been a whole progression of different initiations, right?
Yeah.
Probably one of the first ones was in Egypt in the King's Chamber, where, I had a total experience with energy coming up my spine. It changed everything. But I was still kind of a newbie at that point, right? And then it was totally the same thing. I used to not be able to be still like 30 years ago. I remember I couldn't actually just be still and completely calm. And then it was really just over. I mean, I've always had essential tremors since I was one. And that also was, I mean, the kids made fun of me in school, right? In kindergarten, they made fun of me, right? And so it was really the practice of doing sound. It totally transformed. The first thing that happened was when I tuned into all my chakras.
Mm-hmm.
And went, what are you doing? What's going on with you, right? And finally got, I need each one to be humming. That was really a big awakening. And then the Hathors came in. And they said they wanted to create the superhighway between my pituitary and pineal about 5 or 6 years ago. And then my intuition and my voice went off the deep end.
Wow.
But I'm still kind of a babe in the woods.
Absolutely. Like, I feel like we've just scratched the surface, and not just what we know scientifically, but just, really tuning, or not tuning, excuse me, here comes my throat, accessing the full capacity, See? See, we're still clearing. We're still making, we're still tuning the instrument here.
Right.
Yeah. So my a couple of things I wanted to talk about today, we don't have to dive in right now, is just like how we can do this to where it's part of the routine, it's normal, it's simple, it's applicable. And I think people, I've taught sound healing off and on over the years. And I think that, conceptually, there's all these cool stories. Like we can tell stories about, aligning our chakras and healing. I heard an ankle once and was gone in 20 minutes. But it's not, it's the consistency. It's the fact that it's so easy. Yet I think we tend to not honor that when it's easy. Do you know? And so I feel like for me, I do it in the shower. Like that's my routine, right? Like, and I have a whole, I'll share with you, we can, if you're curious, like, okay, this is not just my physical hygiene. This is my energy hygiene. And I'm bringing my voice, my words, my song, my light language. It's a whole thing. Otherwise, like we get into, it's so easy to get into a default mode or get caught up into the collective, ick. That's
right. I always tell people, you need to go to a place of peace and stillness at least 10 to 15 times a day. And that could be 15 seconds of any vowel. Right? It's so simple. Okay, what do you do? You
want to hear my shower routine?
I can't wait.
Well, it's funny. So I showered before we got on, and so because it's so second nature and it's so in flow. There's not like, I don't have a specific protocol, but I was thinking about it when I was showering. I was like, oh yeah. So first of all, a friend taught me this. I create before I walk in my shower, I create it as like a healing chamber or a portal or a stargate, right? Like, so when I step into my stargate, I'm being purified.
Okay. Everybody's got to change their shower into a stargate. That's the deal. I'm doing it. My colleague and friend, I have to give her credit, Cammie Hall. She's an amazing energy healer, acupuncture, chiropractor. So that's a shout out to her because she taught me that. And so it's like I'm creating this template, right? And in that template, in that portal, I'm returning to my divine blueprint. I'm aligning with my optimal timeline. I'm opening and clearing and balancing my chakras and my energy field. I'm talking to my DNA. I'm singing to my DNA. I'm clearing out all the collective noise from whatever I've been exposed to in the, in the stuff out here. And it will change. So it's like, I'm bringing in affirmations. I'm singing those affirmations. I'm visualizing color and light. Oh, and I'm of course blessing the water right before as it's coming through, and blessing my own body's water.
and then there's just times where I'm like not in intention, I'm just in sound. So whether I'm ohming or toning or light language, like I just try to get out of my own way. Cause sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm too much in the intention, which can be a little bit more mental. So then I'm just like, all right, like let's let all that, human stuff just fade out and then just let it flow. And she taught me this, not that she didn't teach me the sound part. She taught me the portal part. But then when I get out of the shower, I'm like, okay, I'm stepping out into my, aligned divine self. I am fully embodied and anchored into like the truest, highest timeline of unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, whatever word you want to use. So it's been fun.
Do you do both clearing and harmonizing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
you
it,
go.
and it, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, it just depends on what I need that day. Like sometimes I'm like, ooh, I feel like I need a little extra like purification. I feel like, I feel a little heavy. I feel like, I was on social media and got icked. But then sometimes if I'm not like, it's more of that really talking to your DNA to activate the crystalline energy, to activate the higher consciousness, to embody the I am or divine self and I realized, through not just that experience, but over time, we have these big initiations like you in the King's Chamber, right? I can think of lots of initiations in Shasta or Glastonbury or my own backyard sometimes. But it's the daily things that create the consistency that keep us, on more of a trajectory of ease, and I was always about like, I was just kind of born this way. Like more is better. I want the big stuff. Like give me the big booms, And I think as I've matured and got into my 50s or whatever, like, oh, it's actually these daily commitments to self-love, daily commitments to using my voice, to honoring my energy, to talking to my DNA, what it's really about, like that embodied living experience. So
It's really
I've
interesting,
matured.
because I've never actually shared what I do, even in my classes. And but I had a couple things. So I had this one student in the advanced program, and she shared what she does every day. She's got fourth stage cancer, the happiest person I've ever met, and she's unbelievable. And she went through her day, and it was like 25 things she did every day with sound.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, I don't even do that, right? So what I do is before I get out of bed, I do the ceremony.
Nice.
I do it in bed, often with a kitty on top of me, right? And so I go through all the chakras. I got different beings for different chakras. And my guides, it's interesting. First, my guides go through my to-do list. And they say, this, you forgot this, you forgot this, you forgot. I'm not even thinking, right? I'm still in theta, just like space, right? And then I do the whole thing of love and light, and I call in all of my team and do a whole healing. And it normally takes an hour every morning. And I wake up, when I get out of bed, I'm lit up. And then it's like what I do is I go do my emails and stuff, and then I'll do a little workout. Then I'll do a half hour on the sound vest and get blissed out with vibration on the body.
Sound vest. Tell me
Sound
about that.
vest. Yeah, we sell a vest with 6 subwoofers on the actual vest. And
Oh my goodness.
it's way stronger. It's as strong as a sound table or sound lounge. Right? So that gets me in the zone. Right? And then through the day, I around 4 or 5 o'clock, I get on the sound table again with the kitty on top of me. She loves the vibration, and do a whole meditation there. And then I'm just blessed because I get to go and teach my classes and do sound throughout the classes. Right? So I'm doing it a lot through the day, and it's transformed my system drastically.
Absolutely. Yeah, you and your friend there are way ahead of me. I do a little in bed, and then I do it in nature, and I do while I'm driving my car. I like to marry it with those times where, And it's kind of cool because you can, I know you've experienced this where, your sound is different depending on where you are and where it's being directed. Like if I'm in nature, it's, you know, always a little bit different than what's happening in the shower. It's interesting.
So, for those people that don't know what light language is, tell us what that is. We'll just have to do it to explain it, huh?
I know. I was just going to say, oh, those words again. I have to use words.
Right.
To me, it's actually not really any different than toning or chanting or sounding. It just comes through in a different way. So, like when my light language first really opened up, it started with my hands. My hands just started to flow on their own. They were dancing to music. But I knew what it was at the time because I had, as I mentioned, I had studied a bit with Judy Satori on this light language course, but it never really came through. My voice was still really crunchy and shut down. And so once the energy, so to me, so back to your question, to me, it's like our divine self, our high frequency is like this signal. And then that signal can access all these other signals. And then that comes in through your body, through your voice, through your sound, through your art, through movement, in a way that is a transmission of like light encoded energy, right? And light language or language of love or whatever, again, words are challenging. Like to me, it's just one facet. It's like you have like our bodies to me are like a huge orchestra of different instruments. Some like to dance, some like to sing, some like to speak, some like to draw, right? Some like to paint. And in all those mediums of creation energy, right, we are expressing like divine light, divine love, divine transmission of codes or multidimensional packets of information. Again, words are hard. And to me, this is like, it's just however it emits through the instrument of the body.
When did it open up that you could channel this?
Like I think around that whole 2018, 17, because the light language came through and then I got a few sound bowls and then like higher self spirit was like, okay, you're going to start doing light language in front of people. And I was like all my terror and fear. And I mean, really, really like that old persecution energy came up. So yeah, like 2017, 18-ish. I don't know. I'm not good with time.
So how would you, what would you tell people that to do to open up this channel of creativity? Because I want to teach this to the kids.
Yeah.
Because
and that's it.
Yeah, it's the deal. It's totally the deal. I mean, you
And the
could,
kids have
one
it.
level is go, oh, we just go on Chat GPT and get creative, right? The next is open up the channel and get a higher Chat GPT.
Right. And kids do it, right? Like, but when my kid was young, I mean, he's 15 now, so that's all shut down for the moment. But when he was younger, he's singing silly songs and talking silly language. That's just light language, or drawing. And so, along the way, we shut it down. So like, I think the number one is giving ourselves permission to have fun and be free as best we can and let it be silly and let it just come through with sound. And so we're actually doing a little retreat about this because I think so many of us, like I remember saying to myself or others, like, I don't have a creative bone in my body. Like that's how shut down I was. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
Do you know?
In high school, I was that way.
Yeah. And so like if you told me I would be painting or doing mandalas or singing or recording meditations with sound, I'd be like, so for me, I really had to and this is, I think for most of us, like get out of the way of expectation, of judgment, of what it's supposed to sound like or should, and just play. Like I would play in my car and play in the shower. Because, when you're driving, you kind of go into that theta state. And to me that open, and same in the shower, I think, something with the water and the ions. So to me, it's just like, just play. And when your mind comes in and tells you something dumb, like, I just had this little trick, and I stick it. This happened when I was doing the bowls every week. I just would stick my little ego mind in the back of my head and just be like, just go take a nap. Like, just let it rip. Like, and it's not about what they get. And I, again, it took a long time, especially doing it in public, because people were like, well, we don't know what that was. We've never heard of light language. We don't know what you were doing, but it felt good. So we're going to come back. And they did. Oh, and what happened was, after they had started coming consistently, they could all bring light language, or whatever you want to call it, through whether a voice or art or whatever. They opened up. They got activated.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Sit with people that are already open. I think the number one thing is schools. I mean, it's the antithesis of creativity.
Yeah.
It's like, be in a chair, I mean, it's really bizarre how normal we think that is.
Yeah. I mean, that programming happens so early and so significantly. One of the things that
Even with parents, shh.
Oh, 100%.
Shh.
Yeah. I was thinking about, I told you I watched the interview you did with Bruce Lipton, and you guys were talking about like the influence of mass consciousness. And that actually came up in one of my circles the other day, because it was like, again, kind of part of the shower experience is I think it's supportive for us to intentionally like unplug from out there, like, and like reclaim sovereignty, reclaim divinity, reclaim divine self, power, that alignment, that authenticity, because it's like we're so in the soup of it all. And to me, that's part of my shower experience. And like you and your sound in bed in the mornings, it's like, okay, well, any interference that is pulling me out of that, true center, true pure balance, or whatever you want to call it, like we, at this point, in my opinion, like we need to be proactive with it. Otherwise, it's so easy to get into that programming that, as you said, like starts really young, and it's so pervasive and subtle, it's and then reinforced. Yeah, it's in the air. It's in the collective soup. I did a session the other day, and I was working on this woman. I'm not super visual, so when I get a visual, and I just saw this like gray cloud like over her crown chakra. And all we had to do was to get her energy plugged into her home source energy for that to clear. It was like, oh, I just got to plug back into myself. Oh, I just got to plug back into my heart. I got to plug back into like my true, pure self, not all this, and still live in this world, and still be in a body, right? And still navigate all the stuff.
So tell me how you do a treatment.
Oh goodness. There's lots of layers to that. Let me try to think about it really simplistically. So if I work with a client, whether online or in person, the first thing that happens for me once I start tuning in and I have my, initial setting up practice, is my body starts communicating where their blocks are. So I can do it externally with sound, or just internally with intention. And then it's like their body and my body start communicating, and we just kind of, it's like little breadcrumbs. I look at it as like a little game board. Okay, now we're going to go over here to the throat. We're going to go down here to the root. Oh, in the root, there's some lineage stuff from the past life. But I always include like some toning and some light language, maybe not during, but definitely at the end. But what the interesting thing, since we're talking about sound, is that when I hit a block, when they're like stubborn and they don't want to let something go, or it's just so embedded in the body, for whatever reason, they're like, I want to hang on to this, this is protection or control. Like, and I can't get to it. I always bring sound in. Like, to me, that's like, okay, I got this barrier, and it's like, Let me get my bowls. Let me get my voice. You're no, and then I'll invite the client to, of course, assist in that experience, and then that, of course, just amplifies it all. So each session's pretty intuitive, but clearing stuff from the DNA, clearing trauma, clearing all the things, and then of course aligning, optimizing, activating, refilling it all with goodness.
I got an interesting question. You want to do it with me?
Sure.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay.
What are we doing?
Oh, you want to do a treatment on me?
Oh, that's okay. I think we did this last time. I remember
did
us
you?
laughing. Yep.
I don't even remember.
Well, and then let's include everybody who's here. So, is there any particular focus? Let me just tune in.
Oh, yeah, just tune in.
And of course, we'll bring sound in since we're doing a sound conference. Okay, let me just take a minute and tune in. And then for anybody who's listening, since you're listening, and we'll be quiet for a moment, like just tune into your own body now. I always invite people to close their eyes and just drop into the body and connect to the body's consciousness and wisdom and intelligence. And so what happens for me is my body just begins to communicate with sensation. And so where I'm being drawn to first, and you may, David, your body may be communicating another place, and that's fine because we can always be drawn to different places, but I'm drawn into like the lower back and the lower abdomen. So we can just bring through, and we can both hum and chant and sing and tone or or vowels, and just allow the intention to just open up, flow, open up, light. My favorite intention is let's alchemize everything that's not in harmony with love, period.
I have a thought that came to me that could resonate with everybody that's going on. And that is, I've gotten pretty good at trusting that everything is taken care of. But in the last couple of weeks, there's been a little, maybe with the Mercury retrograde, it's been a little
wobbles,
right? Like health, wealth, and relationships, right? And it's like I can feel that fear, which is in the collective, especially now because what's going on with politics and war and stuff.
Yep.
Right. So I think that is pretty common for a lot of people going into fear about all of those things.
Absolutely. And as you're talking about it, I immediately start feeling that in the chest because it is heartbreaking to witness. Yeah. And it's like all of our old foundations are being rocked. And we're in, how I keep sensing it is almost like the skeletal system is being dismantled. That's just as an example, like our roots, our trees, our the solidity of how we've been existing in a foundational sense is kind of being ripped up so we can replant ourselves, but we're kind of still in the transitional part of that, So it's like our old root systems are being dissolved, new root systems are being planted. We're having to navigate our own shadows and past things that are still being activated by all this that's happening. And as you know, it's our job to just keep tuning in to see okay, well, how's this reflecting back into me? And my favorite question is just what needs love within me now? What needs to be restored to that? But again, as I feel like I have to pop my back to move some of the energy. It's like the lower spine is not quite certain where it stands right now. And so, yeah, let's just open up some flow and release any old foundations and energies that aren't supportive of how we are going to be standing in greater love and greater sovereignty and greater divine and our own divine power. And I start burping because that's what happens when I clear energy. And what I feel too, like visually, and again we can bring this sound in, is it's almost like taking that lower half, or even just the whole part of your spine, and just plugging into like earth as that foundational source of support, like the earth being the infinite supply of all the resources and abundance and love. And so it's like, in the old way, we might have looked outside of ourselves for all that, right? We sourced our abundance through jobs, maybe love through outer relationships, approval from our work or whatever. And then now it's like this alignment wants to come in to say like, oh, it's already here. We can self-source this within ourselves. We can connect to earth. We can connect to source. We can, be that, the totality of the wholeness already exists here. And like, let's anchor that in, right? Like, let's literally anchor that through the body as again, like what I was saying earlier about like the collective stuff. It's like, oh, we just got to keep bringing our energy back into this, this place of support, nurturance, faith, power, confidence. It's like, it's all here, but we've been so rooted in the false foundations of safety. And so it's like, oh, to me, this is like a rerouting into, true. What is true? What is real? Okay, so and as I'm talking, it kind of even felt like it moved down a little further into the root. So maybe we can just imagine, as we bring in some sound, like in feeling into what it is to root into the earth and into your own energy, where there's that infinite supply of all that is needed: nurturance, love, support, resources, abundance, health. And then just bringing in the intention, anything that's misaligned with that's being held here or anywhere else in your body, we can just ask that it release. It's almost like this like kind of this strength that wants to break through, like your root down your legs into your feet. Like, again, like the tree, I keep just seeing like a big tree with these big stable roots that are just planted into that, that new earth energy, that crystalline love energy of earth. And as those roots are planted, then there's even a greater ease of allowing that earth energy to flow up the legs, into the root, into the whole sacral. And just being willing to receive or align with new foundations. Foundations of truth. Foundations of well-being. Etora resana mereke tora rashana reki itara harbosa teriana de kela atara hara arabeshana de kedara hara ordo tora shana de ke ela kara araki o kotoro basana mereke tora hara itara yena de ke itoro hrama soto de yeshana otoro hrukuma o kotora resana de kedara arbo shata de kana de ikara arakia. And then kind of here's where I'm just like, all right, and whatever else like hands off the wheel, just letting sound, letting the energy, letting your guides and all the helpers just support alignment, restoration to divine blueprint. This is like, okay, we can let go of control here. We can trust that the body is restoring this back to perfection. I'm going to bring my little bowl in. I have a bowl right here. If you want to tone along. Yeah, I just want to make sure I have my thing on. Oops. Hold on. Nice big deep breaths into that lower half of the body. Rebeshana Marakatoro Brasana Marakitare, Eter Rebeshana Marakatoro, Rebeshana Marakatoro, Rebasari, and Rekitare, Arabosataka Marakoto, Chatakitare, Arretati, and Rakatoto, and Rakatoto, Rebeshana Ki, Ekotor Barasana Manakatare, Areshatakana, Etoro, or Ototarasana Ki. Ishana the Kara Resana Metoro, Rebesana Manakitare, Arre Etanamesha to the Koro or Robuto Rikiara. Seeing, sensing like your whole column of light, like just rooted deep in the earth and above, just like flowing in light, flowing with ease. How are you feeling?
A little sad.
Do you want to sound? Yeah. Do you want to sound that?
Good neck crack.
It's like I feel like healing, like things have opened up so significantly for us. It's like we're being taken to some of those really deeper, like core wounds of separation. You know, like the belief of I've been dropped off on this planet and I don't belong here. You know, like, oh, I'm actually separate as I'm stuck in this illusion of polarity and whatever other bullshit happens here, you know? And I think, you know, I think those of us that have been doing the work for a long time, it's like we're able to access some of these really significant wounds of separation. And you can call it abandonment. You could call it, there's fear, there's, grief of that perception, because we know it's not true, right? We know in our divine self it's not true, that we're one with all, that we're infinite, but the human doesn't fully know that, right? Like the humans at some point has existed, or rather has experienced that tremendous wound. Like even birth, right? Like here you are in this womb and warm and cozy, and then you're ripped out into this cold world and you're having to breathe for the first time. I mean, how traumatic.
Wow.
And that's, I know, right? And that's what I like. Most of the sessions I've, like in the past year or so, I just feel like we're getting to that. I'll use that word. We're getting to the meat of it, if you will. And that's kind of what it felt like today.
Okay, what would the sound of complete connection and connect to source and oneness with spirit be?
Oh, no pressure.
Yeah, no fooling around.
Oh Lord. Okay. I'm gonna bring my bowls back up, because and I should say, like, it isn't pressure, because it's not about the sound, right? It's not about what we know this, but that's where my brain went, right? My brain like, oh, what's that gonna sound like? But it's like that doesn't matter. It could sound like crickets,
Right.
and it still be. So I had to see. There's
Just
my
the
ego
energy.
coming in. Yeah, there's my ego coming in to be like, oh my God, what is that going to sound like? But higher self is like, oh, it doesn't flippin' matter. Just set that course.
It's funny, when I think of it, I actually get a little anxious as well, because I always think of source as all sounds, all vibrations, all frequencies in the universe. And I'm like, well, what sound can I even do that's even close to that? It's like, it's really the cosmic, angel choir.
Right. Which I heard the other day. I did. I was actually in a sound ceremony. There's a woman who does these channeled songstress ceremonies. She just sings, and does light language. No instruments, just her voice. And she was pausing. I think she might have been doing some speaking, like in actual English. And I swear, I was like, is somebody outside with like, I heard the word ghetto blaster because I'm old. Is somebody outside with a ghetto blaster, like playing like angelic choir music? And so after the ceremony, I was like, her name's Zedra. I was like, Zedra, did anybody who was in the room, we were together in person. I was like, did y'all hear like the operatic angelic choir? And they're like, no, Jen. But I was like, yes. I was in the celestial realms hearing the angels sing. Yay. And it sounded probably like a sound that I wouldn't be able to actually recreate with my mouth. This particular.
It's like all you can do is harmonize with it.
Right. I mean, it was true, like what you would, if you were ever to construct what angels sound like, that's what it sounded like. An angelic celestial choir of like pure music.
Here we go. Get it going in your head.
From Maddox. Oh,
Yeah,
see
and,
now.
and sing along with it.
Okay.
And I'll join in.
Okay. Hold on. Let me get my
Take your time.
Yeah, let me get all of my ego out of my way. David, you're putting me on the spot here, but that's okay. I'm just gonna ask to connect into that, whatever that was. I don't know where I was. That angelic realm. I think there's a lot of higher tones that this particular throat can't quite get to at the moment, but there's your sometimes when that comes through too, it always feels like Mother Mary. It's like that really like nurturing, soft, loving presence. So that's what it feels like. It's always very soft and gentle,
I love it. I was in Mount Shasta once in the zone, and Mother Mary came walking up to me and turned around and sat in my heart.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it worked for me.
We need lots of Mother Mary right now, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. My first like really closest experience with her was on Mount Shasta too.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then, of course, up there, there's the Peace Garden, and you walk into the Peace Garden, and there's this most beautiful statue of Mother Mary ever, with like flowers and everything at her feet. Oh my God! Oh my God!
I love that place.
So, what would you tell people to do daily to get into their
Take a
practice?
shower. Now, it has to be easy for you, right? In bed, in the shower, driving, taking a walk, cleaning your kitchen, or just sitting in meditation. Like whatever is accessible and in a way that is easeful for you. I think sometimes we're like, oh, I'm going to do this every day. And we commit to this, whatever. And it's like 3 days we forgot about it. And so I find, like, for me, finding those anchor points, the shower, the walk, the car, like that's really what worked for me. And then to just be as playful and open and egoless and detached as you can. Call in your inner child.
Do
Like
gibberish.
if my inner
Gibberish.
Your gibberish, yeah. If my inner child were to talk or sing through me, let's just play with that. Like I'm going to give full permission for my inner child to just, use my throat and my voice as, this is their instrument. And I'm just going to take my adult serious brain, and all that programming and just tell it to take a nap. And I think the other piece, and I think you use this word, is just having faith that you're not just making silly sounds. It's not just a tone. I mean, it is, but it's so much more. And I think we significantly underestimate the power of our voices and the simplicity of what healing can be, because we kind of mentalize it and we overthink it. I remember when I was teaching my sound healing course, I think I shared this with you last time. I don't remember the exact words. I wrote it down again on my notes, but like our unique voice, our voices, is divinely and precisely encoded to be your specific sound medicine.
We had it down as babies.
Right.
Wah, right?
Yeah. I mean, the bowls and the instruments are so powerful, yes, but nothing is more powerful than your voice, and you were born with it.
Yeah. And it's really, if you don't express it like we were born to do, it's a blockage emotionally, which creates physical blockages and disease.
Right. And I think if people, and I know your audience probably already knows this, but just, knowing that your sound can open up the flow physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, at all facets and all levels. As a matter of fact, I was teaching some humming and just simple toning to an audience that's not really like in the spiritual realm. Like, I do this meditation class. And so I'm having them just practice different sounds and tones and toning along with me. Well, this one woman, she had no idea what she just thinks, oh, I'm just making this sound, humming along with Jen. And then she had this massive emotional release. Her throat, her neck, her shoulders, like, and she wasn't expecting it because we don't really give, unless we're aware, we're not giving, we're not understanding like the depth of power that can have. So play with it.
The most important thing we do at the school is every class we start with everybody doing the sound of how they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
And when they're not feeling good, it's the best, right?
Yeah.
And last night we were doing it, and I thought, when you ask somebody how they're doing, you see somebody, generally what they say has no meaning at all, right? It's like, oh, I'm fine, doing well. How are you doing? It's like, what was that? That was like, okay, it had zero. Yeah. But if you go, oh, how are you doing? And the other person goes, it's like, oh, okay.
I love it. Yeah.
It's so much better.
Yeah, because the words have like created all these filters, right?
Words suck.
Words do suck. You should have a podcast or your next event. Words suck. What to do instead?
They're ridiculous when it comes to explaining or describing emotions.
Yeah, and limiting. Yeah.
Right, and judgmental, mostly. And
confining and restricting, and yeah. Thank God for our evolving telepathy.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. I think just any sound. Just the easiest is humming or any vowel. And I always tell people, just do it silently.
Right. And and if you're a little left-brained, that's okay. Like I'm not. Like you're a science guy, so I get that. Like, but anyone else out there who's a science guy, like or gal, go do your research on humming for the vagus nerve. Give yourself a little bit of content to legitimize what you can do for your nervous system by humming every day.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, left brainers, just look it up, do a little research. It works. It's proven. It's proven.
That's right. I don't want the research. Like again, it's like words. Like
right.
The proof is in the pudding for me. I don't need all the data.
Right.
I just want to have fun with it. Otherwise my brain gets too involved and then then it screws it all up. So.
Well, excellent. I love your message. I love your energy. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you for what you do. When I was watching your videos, catching because it's been a while. I was like, if everybody, like you asked me what I would do with all that money, like if everybody could just play with this and know this. And I love that you're such a huge, presence in the world. So thank you for being that. Thank you for your mission.
Yeah, when you learn that service is all that matters, it's the whole deal.
It is. Just got to get this little piece out of the way, right?
Right. Yeah. Service is, then you can do that little thing where it's in the mind, like, oh, service is cool.
It is cool.
It is cool, but service is the deal regardless.
Yeah. It's kind of like, if we just keep asking, like, okay, well, what did I sign up for? Like, really, what did I sign up to do this 9 to 5 happy hour, what, like grind, like, is that really what I signed up for? And then you think, oh, like, what did I love to do? Like, for me, I loved to sing and dance as a kid. I wanted to be the solid gold dancer and be on Star Search. And then, I didn't know where I was going with it, but it was that mission was already planted, early on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's send the sound of love to the whole planet. And
okay.
I'm sorry, the whole universe.
Let's do it.
Okay, and we'll end with that.
That felt so good.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to be together again. Let's do it next year. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Bye.
Hi there. Welcome to another presentation of the Globe Sound Healing Conference. Now we have Hela Marie Anderson. Hi.
Hi, David. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
Welcome, welcome. So Helene is a multi-layered musician and composer, singer, pianist, harpist, producer, and multi-instrumentalist. Her unique style of working with sound blends her years of studying healing modalities with contemporary music and sound healing. She is currently a featured sound meditation producer and artist for Apple Fitness plus Platoon, releasing more than 23 sound meditations from 2023 to 25, available on all streaming platforms. Also in 2024, she co-produced and released an album of original songs and mantras entitled Listen to the Trees. She has been featured as a sound healing artist, leading workshops at renowned studios, including the Mindry, the Olander Foundation, Insight LA Meditation, Soul Play Yoga, Disclosure Fest, and many others throughout the LA area. On the wellness front, she is a best-selling author of You Are Meant to Sing, 10 Steps to Unlock Your Inner Voice, a transformational voice coach, a certified craniosacral therapist and body worker, sound healer, yoga instructor, and teacher. She's also served as adjunct faculty at the University of Southern California, Thornton School of Music for the past 15 years, and was previously artistic administrator at the Los Angeles Philharmonic, where she produced concerts at both Walt Disney Concert Hall and Hollywood Bowl. Helene teaches her own courses in sound healing and vocal alchemy through her business Sacral Sounds, which she founded in 2014. Oh, what have you been up to lately?
Lately, as I shared with you, I'm getting ready to produce a big event for the spring equinox, which I'm super excited about. Kind of part sound bath, part sound concert, part celebration. So I'm bringing together some really amazing musicians to kind of muse musical styles and healing modalities together. So super excited about that.
Nice. Okay, here's the big question. If you had all the money in the world, what would you do to help people?
It's an interesting question and something I've been thinking a lot about lately, actually, about what if money was not an object? Like, what would it look like? And I'd say if I love everything I do, to be clear, but I also feel like music reaches people in a way that all the other things I do can only be one-on-one in real time, and music can expand throughout the whole world. And so if I had all the money in the world, I would create a beautiful studio to be able to create even more sound healing music, not just me, but for other people, to be able to reach people everywhere, and also to be able to take it in other places, because I've also done circle singing and various other ways of getting people connected to the voice, because I feel like with everything going on in the world right now, the one thing that often gets lost is finding our joy. And music is so important and touches that part of our heart and soul. And I feel like that is the most joyful thing to heal across the board. The dancing, the singing, the sound healing, like all of it really combined. So that's my bigger vision if I had all the money in the world.
Excellent. Okay, tell us about your presentation.
So for my presentation, I took my own inspiration from being a beginner at the harp in lockdown 2020, fast forward to my life now where I drive a minivan and own 4 harps. So I didn't foresee that happening many years ago. And so I really took that beginner's mind, and something I've studied in meditation or throughout the years and all of the different modalities and practices that I've studied. But I always come back to beginner's mind. And the older I get, the more I realize how important it is to empty the vessel before you fill it again. And so that's the premise of this presentation, is to get back to the very simple basics of where we connect with our voice, with rhythm, with an instrument, so that it becomes a practice of meditation, but also you start to quiet all these voices in the head that get us out of what it is that we're trying to create, or all the limiting beliefs. And I think the more we can simplify, the more we create that space to create whatever it is we're trying to create, whether it be music or a song or our lives or better relationships. And it really comes down to this very simple thing. And I also really want to encourage people that it's never too late. It's never too late with music. You can enter beginner's mind no matter how old you are, any age, any stage of life. I didn't even play the harp before 2020. And so it's just, you take whatever you have and start where you're at. And that is the premise of beginner's mind, with curiosity and wonder.
Well, let's check it out, and we'll talk on the other side.
Hi, everyone. I am Hela Marie Anderson, and I am so excited to be back here at the Globe Sound Healing Conference and here to present for all of you today. So this is my workshop, and we're going to get started in just a moment. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of a brief introduction of myself and why this is so important to me. I am a pianist first. That was my first instrument love. I am a singer. I'm a harpist. I play a lot of different sound healing instruments. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how really approaching new instruments and new sounds through the lens of the beginner's mind is incredibly helpful to not just open your creative channel, but to help you with mental and emotional well-being, and really just bring you back to yourself and be able to create whatever it is that you desire to create. So in opening this talk, I'm going to share some slides with you, so just give me a moment here. All right, here we are, exploring beginner's mind with voice, sound, and music. So we are going to be opening the channel for creativity through singing, through the harp, through rhythm, and through creative exploration. So I'm really excited to take you on this journey with me today. So we will move to the next slide here. So these are a couple of quotes that I find super inspirational. Both of these come from Suzuki's Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind book. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. When your mind is empty, it is always ready for anything. It is open to everything. And this is what we're exploring in beginner's mind. So nothing I'm going to show you today might be new in and of itself. I'm sure people have shown me these things along the way. But putting them in this very mindful way together, it helps open up that space, whether you're wanting to create your own music, whether you're wanting to put pen to paper and write, or whether you're really just wanting this for your own practice. I find these very simple dropping in exercises will help you get back to that beginner's mind. So why beginner's mind? I'm going to tell you. So I just gave you a brief introduction, but I just want to tell you a little bit more about my inspiration behind this particular talk and why I really wanted to focus on this particular subject. So when lockdown happened, I, for the probably 10th time in this life, tried to learn to play the guitar again. Now, I am a classical piano player. As I mentioned, I have my piano right here that I've had since I was 14. I always studied voice all the way through school as well, and it was always very classical, very regimented. In my senior year of high school, I tried to do jazz, and for some reason I was just so blocked that my teacher, who played both classical and jazz, would write out my solo for me, which is really, if any of you know jazz or know what it's about, it's just really the antithesis of what jazz is, which is basically to create live music on the spot and to improvise, which is what beginner's mind helps us with. And so it was something I always deeply desired within myself, was this idea that I could improvise. And when probably 15 years ago, before I started really seriously delving into the sound healing world, I just started improvising on the piano. And the whole time I was dealing with these incredibly judgmental voices in my head. And I always call them the gremlins. And so my meditation practice really helped me with those voices, and also the way I approached a new instrument. And so when lockdown happened and I was trying to play the guitar again, and it just never felt ergonomically correct in my body. For some reason, I just never bonded with the guitar. I still have one. I'll pick it up every now and again. But one of my friends who was trying to teach me said, why don't you just get a harp? And now, I'm really honest, like I was around harpists my whole life. I was a classical musician. I worked at the Los Angeles Philharmonic. I worked with many orchestras throughout the world in terms of setting up commission projects for composers. And not once during that time, even having a close friend who was a harpist doing more meditative music, did I even remotely feel called to play the harp. And which I find kind of ironic in this moment now. But I just figure, well, it was May of 2020. I didn't know what else I was going to do to fill my time. So I figure, well, why not learn a new instrument? So I went to what was then the Salvi store in West Los Angeles. It has now closed, but there's a new one that's opened. For any of you that are interested, you can reach out. I have really good contacts for starter harps. And I just bought my first harp, and it was this small 27-string harp that was green, the color of the heart chakra. And I just began playing this brand new instrument. Now, of course, I wasn't learning music from scratch because I am a classically trained pianist. My bachelor's degree is actually in piano performance, and then my master's degree was in arts management or arts administration. So I had both sides, the business side and the creative side, but I didn't explore the creative side to the depth of what I was desiring until I got my first harp. And so what happened is that my life completely changed and my priorities changed. Now, going back in time, when I got my first harp, my friend who so eloquently guided me to get a really good harp for my first harp, because some of the harps that you get that aren't so quality, you're not going to actually be able to expand and create because they just don't have the correct string tension and that. But that's another topic. If you're interested in exploring, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to connect about that. So I bought this harp, and it had these things called silk gut strings. So they mimic gut strings. So yes, actually harp strings, and these in this octave here, are made from sheep's guts. That was the original material that was for harp strings, and they actually make that tension and the sound. And it's all ethical, just to be clear. And so I started playing this harp, and within a couple months, I realized, where have you been all my life? And so now I have since sold that very first harp, but I now own 4 harps and a minivan. And I love my Toyota Sienna, I have to say. And when people call me soccer mom, I just explain to them that they don't really understand what's going on. I have harps and cats. So that is my life. And now harp is really my primary instrument. And I am so grateful for the journey I've had with this instrument. And this instrument is really a lot of what has brought me back to my original voice. And it was through beginner's mind and my approach to learning this instrument that really helped me to expand in this way. And so I'm really excited to be sharing this with all of you and to share my journey and also these very simple exercises that really helped me to also begin creating music, because I wasn't even, the further to that story before we move on is that I also really tapped into my powers of composition, and I've since created many sound meditations for Apple Fitness Plus. I create sound meditations live all the time with various instruments, and all of these exercises very simply helped me expand my creative being, helped me create songs, and helped me really expand who I am as a human and what my purpose was. So let's move on to the first one. So beginner's mind, how do we define beginner's mind? What does that really mean? Some of you might be very familiar with the Zen Buddhist tradition that beginner's mind refers to a state of consciousness where the mind taps into the world of infinite potential. So the most important thing that we are exploring here is this. What is that? It's a place where boundless creativity exists, where the mind is free of ego, which is also very important, and the past and the future fall away. So in the eyes of a child, they really are exploring things from the very beginning. That's their first time seeing whatever it is that you're showing them, a first time seeing a harp, a first time seeing a piano, the first time hearing a sound. And as they're doing it, they're exploring from this very different vantage point, where as adults, there's so much clutter that gets in the mind, and this helps us to move through if we can every day as a practice begin to enter this beginner's mind again and be able to tap into what our infinite potential actually is. So as a state of reflection right now, I just want you to ask yourself, when did a single sound last surprise you? So remember something that happened where you might have, taken a jump back or had some reaction to some sound that happened out there. And I just want you to reflect. Was it something that you sang or played? Maybe you surprised yourself when you were singing and something came out of your voice that you weren't expecting. Was it something that you heard? Something that someone else did? Maybe you went to a really inspiring performance. Maybe you went to a really uninspiring performance and it affected you negatively. So what made it feel unexpected? That's a really important thing. So there's a story that I tell often, and one is I had a teacher that used to use a conch shell. And some of those, that's like seashell and people blow into it where it's like, but it's a very loud kind of strident sound is the way I do. And strident also being the sea strident. So there's something about that sound that my body, my mind doesn't really like very much. And I remember him telling me when I told him how much I disliked that sound, that's actually the medicine I needed. And yeah, there's some truth to that. And I do tell people that sometimes that's the case. And sometimes it may just be a sound you don't like. But when that is the case, you also can work on your reactivity to the sound, which is what I did. I still don't really like the sound, but it doesn't startle me in the same way. So when you have these sounds that surprise you, or you have sounds where you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds so beautiful, and I really want to hear this sound again, and then you're inspired by sound, you can also follow those sounds. So I really want you to think about that. When did a single sound last surprise you? And that can be really important to explore. So let's just do a little exploration. Let's make a sound. So imagine you have never made a sound before, which I know is kind of hard to imagine, but do your best, okay? And take a breath. I don't know why that sound came up. Actually, I do. I have a cat. I have two cats, and they're in the back right now while I'm making this recording, and they're making a little bit of noise at the door so I can hear them. So maybe that's why my cat sounds came out today. But I just listen. So let myself be curious, okay? What if I don't even need to know why I made that sound? What if I just made it because I like making a cat sound? I mean, it could be. So I'm just going to close my eyes again. So I would say that's like an exercise that I did when I was in sound healing school with David Gibson, actually, a long time ago. And this idea of just kind of singing how you are. So this is kind of how it starts, right? these exercises people give us, that they are things that encourage us to explore what's possible. And the more that we continue to explore what's possible, then the more we open the door for what could happen and what's next. So let your curiosity replace the evaluation. And this is a really, really important point as you're moving through. Because what is our goal in this? It's quieting the gremlins. And I call them all the gremlins. So as we step into each of these exercises, that is in essence what we are doing. We are quieting the gremlins. So our ultimate goal in this is how to move away from self-criticism into just listening and creating. And that's what we're doing here. So most of us begin making music from a place of curiosity and discovery. When you're a child, you're not thinking, oh, does this sound good? Or is someone judging me? Or, oh, is someone going to think I'm not good enough? Or all these kinds of things. When you're a child, you just kind of sing and you're joyful. I used to walk up to people in the grocery store and ask if I could sing and dance for them. And this is what would come out. And I didn't have any kind of thoughts about whether they'd like it or they wouldn't like it. My mom didn't like it, however, so I definitely internalized some pieces of that where it was just my joy in sharing music and sharing song and dance, which is meant to be a celebration of who we are as people, as humans in our culture. So over time, training and expectations can lead us toward evaluation, control, and self-criticism. So if you're anything like me, you had all of these things lined up. So I wrote in my book, You Are Meant to Sing, 10 Steps to Unlock Your Inner Voice, about how when I first started doing sound baths and all these crazy sounds were wanting to come out, I was always judging myself of what is this? Oh, people are going to think I'm crazy. Like, what is this sound, et cetera, et cetera. And so there was something about really allowing myself to quiet those voices or trust that they were going to be loud for a minute until I just quieted them. And it's as if you're talking to a child and you just kind of quiet those voices and you let that just move. Because here's the thing, all music needs that space. It needs space outside of being critical of yourself. And it also needs you to not be in control. So there's this kind of flip side when you're dealing with music, right? Because you have to be, at some point when you're doing live performance, you have to be in control of the music and the instrument and in control of technology, which is another topic for me because it took me a long time to dial in technology the way that I desired it to be. And so there's a lot going on. But when you are at play and when you make this time to be a beginner, to tap into this element of beginner's mind, you need that time too. You need that time to be able to drop in, to be able to be with yourself, to be able to just simply create. And so coming back into this beginner's mind, it helps you return to curiosity, to wonder, to being, to, wow, what if I just listen? Oh, what am I listening to? Without being in this deep judgment of what does it sound like? Am I good enough? Am I like doing it fast enough or slow enough? Or is my tone okay? Or I really don't like my voice or something else that comes up. So this is what we're doing is we're moving away. And every time you practice beginner's mind, you're able to move away and quiet these little gremlins in your being. So we're just going to do a little exercise where you're going to listen to the sounds and take a slow breath. And you're going to listen to one sound. So I'm going to start with the Shruti box. So I have my little baby Shruti box here, and I'm actually going to put this, it's F, A, and C, so this is heart chakra chord. So I just want you to close your eyes, and we're just going to listen to the Shruti box, and I want you to take a moment to notice how you feel. and just take a moment, have a few reflections. And it could just be also the Shruti box that was being a little bit in and out. This one takes a lot of work to keep going, so sometimes it comes in and out with the wave of the sound. So just taking that in, taking a deep breath. And then I want you to actually, we're going to listen to the harp. And coming back, how did that make you feel? The beginning of the sound, the vibration, the moment it faded and then I played another note. How did that feel? Because obviously this is more than one sound that you're hearing. And I'm keeping it on mostly one note, but there are multiple sounds. So now I'm going to bring out my vast drum here, my handpan-esque instrument. It's called a vast drum. And that was not the sound I intended. So just give me 1 second here. I was just trying to move the microphone so you could hear it a little better. All right. So what did you notice? I want you to do this one more time, and I want you to listen to when it fades out, and then what happens in your mind when you're waiting for the anticipation of the next sound to come in. I just want you to listen. And coming back. So it's very simple, and this way, when you listen to sound like this, or you listen to a drone like the Shruti box, you can kind of pay attention to everything that's happening in your brain. How many thoughts might bombard you at the same time, and then allow them to just move with the breath. And this is what very simple exercises help us do. They literally quiet the gremlins. All right, so implementing these simple practices. So what do? So using a drone, because drones create a stable sonic resonance. So you can use a single singing bowl. That also works really well. Or you can use the Shruti box, or just a recording on your phone. Tablas, which are you can get iTabla Pro, which is a really great app that has a bunch of Indian sounding drones on there that uses like harmonium and Shruti box and a tempura and all of these different things. So I highly recommend checking that app so you can just have a drone access on your phone at all times. And today, I think we're going to choose, okay, so we're going to go back to the Shruti box. So for those of you that are familiar, the Shruti box is usually the C major scale. There are some that are in different keys, but most of them come where this is like the octave C to C. And so it has the black keys on the top and the white keys on the bottom. So we're going to do a perfect fifth, and I won't get too much into music theory today, but that's basically C and G is a perfect fifth. And then I'm going to use the octave C on the top. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this and I'm going to listen and breathe. And then I just want you to feel this drone, like as it moves faster, slower, how it sounds, how it feels in your body. Maybe it feels anxiety provoking. Whatever it is, I just want you to notice the feeling and then breathe into that. And then we're going to incorporate the voice. So once we drop in with the drone, I'm just going to start adding the voice. And so you can hum along with me or sing. And you can maybe then begin as I start exploring nearby tones or other things that might sound good. I'm going to do that, and you're welcome to sing along with me as you listen. So this idea is that you're listening deeply to how the sounds interact. Like, how does my voice interact? You can say with my voice, or with the sound of the drone on its own, or with my dog or cat that happened to be sitting next to me. And you allow the drone to support the discovery of the voice. So we'll be here for a few minutes. So I just want you to close your eyes and just really receive this. And then again, as I start bringing my voice in, feel free to join me and the humming. And then we're going to sing a note and explore nearby notes as well. And this is the easiest way to start incorporating beginner's mind. So just allowing that to settle into the being, into yourself. So how did that feel? You can put some notes in the comments. Let me know how that felt as you moved through that exercise. So you can use any drone instrument, like I said. You can use the shruti box, you can use a singing bowl, you can use a lot of different sounds just to really drop in. And again, I will just do my last plug for iTabla Pro, because that's a really great app on your phone to just have a drone with you anywhere you are at any time of day. So we're going to continue moving forward here. All right. So why does simplifying help us? So simplifying life, as you maybe have ever watched Marie Kondo, and, if it doesn't spark joy, then get rid of it, right? And so simplifying really helps us with improving our mental well-being. And what it does, it quiets the inner gremlins, as we've already talked about. It releases self-judgment, and it helps us reconnect with our creative mind. And what this does is it opens the creative channel. So these simple practices help open the channel for infinite possibilities and creation. So we're going to explore a few more exercises before we close today. So we're going to do a little bit with rhythm and a little bit with the harp. So I think I'll start, we'll go forward in just a moment. But the last thing I just want to say is that all creation comes from this place of infinite possibility. So we are all channels. In whatever way we're creating our lives, we are the channel for this creative output. And when we create this space, because literally to create, we must create space, because the space needs to be there in order for the creation to come in to fill the space. When we're too busy, which I'm definitely guilty of, this idea is that then we don't have the space for the creation that we're really trying to bring to life. So this is very important to really incorporate this into our lives. So beginner's mind with the drum and the harp. So one of the easiest ways to do this, and you can just have a simple drum. Today I'm going to use the Rav Vas drum today, just because I like working with melodic drums, but you can use any drum. You can just use any kind of shamanic drum and just do a simple beat and just play with the simple beat. You can do with or without a metronome. If you're not a musician, I highly recommend you getting a metronome app on your phone so that you have some kind of benchmarker of steady rhythm, because steady rhythm is really important to kind of incorporate into the body. You can even use body percussion. If you are like, where you could just sit here and just do this, repeating one note at a time. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum. Ba-dum, 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 bum. So I might do the rhythm a little bit longer to settle. So when I demonstrate with the Vas drum, I will do it that way. So we'll kind of start, I think, with the body percussion. Then we'll do the Vas drum. So you can see how you can do this anywhere. So you're just going to notice how this repetition starts to create space, because all the gremlins can't exist in that space, because you're being present with the sound, and with the sound in your heart and the sound in your body. And rhythm can guide the mind into presence and entrainment with your own heartbeat. I even had a sound meditation I created called Heartbeat, and that's because I used the drum as kind of the underbelly of the rhythm and being able to do this. So let's just try this right now. So just tapping. You can start making a noise. Bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. So just notice what it is, keeping it really simple if you feel like you get off. I went a little bit syncopated there, but I kept this bass rhythm the same. So you kind of are just keeping this one. Ba-dum, ba-bum, da 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 dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, bum-bum, ba-ba-da-dum, ba-ba-dum, ba-dum, bum-bum, ba-da-dum, bum, da-dum, bum, da-dum, ba-dum, bum-bum, ba-dum, bum-ba-da-dum. So you start first, you add your voice, and then often I will add a mantra as well. So let's just say for today, I am whole. Let's just do very simple. So you can add Sanskrit mantras or anything that speaks to you that way. But what I'm going to do is really, so we're just going to do I am whole. All right, so we're going to start with the heartbeat. Bum dum da 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 dum da dum da dum 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 da dum dum da da dum da dum 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 ba da da dum da 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 dum da da dum bum bum dum. I am whole, 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 I am whole. So that very, very, very simple exercise is the thing that you can do as you're moving through this all the time. You can do this. So this is a really, really important exercise to keep in mind as you are moving through whatever it is you're moving through. And so now we're going to do it with the melodic drum, with the bass drum here. All right, and this is a B chord in case anyone's curious, the scale. So we're just going to do the one note, and then I might add another chord. So same thing. So ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-dum. So there you go. It can be very simple. Now, one of the things that you might have noticed about me is that I like to get things very complicated very quickly. So this beginner's mind, especially if you have a brain that likes to do lots of different things, which mine always does, slowing down can be more challenging, but I have found it to be so incredibly helpful when I'm trying to create music. And so this is the part, because especially when I first started playing the harp, bringing it back to the original intention of this workshop, is that I had to slow down because my musical brain was much quicker than my ability to play the strings with my fingers yet. Because even though, yes, I have technique on the piano, I had zero technique on the harp when I started. And so I really had to practice. And what I had to do was slow down and go very simply and very methodically. So I'm going to show you what I did. And these very simple exercises were how I started, and it's one of the very simple ways to start playing the harp. And so I'm just going to show you. And this can be any instrument, whether you do it on the harp or the piano or any kind of instrument you're doing. It's just this one note at a time expansion. And then I'm in C major. So right now I'm in C flat on the harp. And so it basically is like C major down a half step for those of you that are musically inclined. And I'm just going to show you what I did and how this beginner's mind can really apply to any instrument that you want to play. Simple way of how I started. I wasn't even that complicated in the right hand when I did it. So I'm just going to show you how this kind of progressed, just so that you have an idea when you start doing these exercises every day, how it can progress. Gives you an idea. It's just a fun little short improvisation. And I just really encourage you, if you feel called, and also I just want to say it's never too late. It's never too late, no matter how old you are, to have joy of music and playing instruments in your life. And so that's also one of the messages here, right? Beginner's mind, you can always start, even just for you. So this idea that you have to be creative, that's all the time, or that it was always a gift. It's also a lot of work and a lot of showing up. And it's really just showing up. I don't even like to think of it as work because I love it so much. So it's something that I show up because I'm constantly striving to be better. So what does this leave us with? This entering the beginner's mind with ease. So the truth, what is the truth of all of this? All creations are bringing chaos into form through you as the creative open channel. And so through these simple practices, you will create more space in your mind and being through opening your creative channel, opening your capacity for music, and opening your ability for creative expansion. And just to say, it can be creating anything. It's not just about music, but music is a really good tool, even if you want to apply this creative achievement to whatever field or whatever thing you would like to create in your life. So whether you're looking to do this through sound and music, your voice, your words, or simply how you show up in life, these simple exercises will fundamentally create the space for you to create from a place of curiosity and wonder. And apologies for my typo that I just saw. So, in that, I thank you so much for your time. Again, I am Hela Marie Anderson. I teach vocal coaching. I teach instruments. I teach how to play the harp. And I would love to connect with you. I work with mindfulness and meditation as well. And you can check out my website for other services that I offer. I'm also a craniosacral therapist. So I really look forward to connecting with you, David. Thank you so much for having me as part of this conference. And I can't wait to connect with you and hear from you again. Wishing you a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.
You know, I played clarinet in the symphony in
Amazing.
high school. Yeah, and also in the marching band. And I don't think I ever did a single creative thing the whole time I was playing clarinet.
That's not surprising. I think
I,
that's how there's a formulaic way that band instruments are taught in
oh,
school,
I was
right?
so happy to have those notes in front of me. And I don't even, and now I play guitar also. I used to play songs on the guitar all the time. I haven't played a song on the guitar in 15 years. I only improvise. And in fact,
Amazing.
what I do is I'll sit on my porch and right on the ocean, and I'll play the sound of the ocean. I'll play to the birds and stuff. And it's funny, I don't remember, I was thinking about it, I don't remember when that change happened. Maybe it had to do with the drugs I did in college, you know. I mean, it was
Always blame the drugs.
right. Right. And there was like an opening with some higher beings that happened about 7 years ago, and that really changed things, where the Hathors came in and created a super highway between my pituitary and pineal gland. And now my creativity has gone off the deep end. Although actually I had a astrological reading or Chinese reading astrologically, and it said creativity, creativity, creativity. So something astrologically about that too. I've always been really creative. Although I remember in high school, I had to do a creative writing project and I couldn't think of anything, so I stole something.
Well, you could say Chat GBT does that now,
Right,
right? You just
right,
sort of type something in and it'll spit something back out for you.
right.
Um,
Well, I've been thinking about this whole creativity thing because we're creating a new program for kids.
Amazing.
And I really want to actually open up their creative minds big time because
I love
that's,
that.
yeah, it's so important. It's so important. And it's interesting because I've gotten into it a lot, actually. I've been thinking a lot about it. You know, there's two types of creativity. One is where you look at all the different possibilities out there and then you kind of put them together and create something new of with relationships of possibilities, which is exactly what ChatGPT is doing,
Right, for sure.
right? Which is unbelievable how creative it is because now it's got all the information. It's like, you know, if you look at all the geometry in the world and how sacred geometry works, you can get really creative. I mean, there's Islamic, you
Absolutely.
know, geometry. It's unbelievable. When you look at all the vowels and consonants, you can get really creative with sound, right? Which we're doing for the kids. So by looking at the overall structure of everything, you can really get, you know, there's so many combinations of possibilities.
There's
But this
absolutely, yes.
but the second is what you've been talking about here, and that is basically, I often think of it as downloads.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because you talk about the state getting into this zone,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always think of it as first as peace, because if your monkey mind's going, there's no room for anything coming in, and that's what you talked about
Yep,
here.
absolutely.
And the thing you mentioned about just listening to the sound and being in the present moment, I mean, that's so huge.
I mean, that's kind of the premise of all of it, is that when you get that simple, where you are so in that moment with the sound and listening. And I used to teach meditations at Inside LA, as I mentioned, fairly regularly. And I would just have them follow the sound to when it ended as the meditation practice. And then when there would be silence, paying attention, does the monkey mind come in again? And for people, the monkey mind would be very active in the silences. But when the sound came in, it accesses that other part of the brain and the different hemispheres. So you're able to kind of mitigate or observe the thoughts from a different perspective by watching the sound come in and out and watching your anticipation of when the next sound is going to come in. It's all about learning your reactions. And that's really what it's about. And then also, like I said, in terms of creativity, it's where you create space. So you have to, as I said in the beginning, in order to create, you must empty the vessel first.
Yeah. I mean, sound is so good for getting you present, but it's a little bit different when you actually create a drone or a rhythm.
Absolutely.
And I just interviewed Tom Kenyon for the last conference, and he said something that was pretty so obvious. He says, I always have an instrument that gets me in the zone. And then from there, I go out to another dimension. So he'll play the drum. And often what I've learned is a lot of people say it takes like 8 minutes or so to get in the zone. Some people can do it in 30 seconds, right?
Yeah, it really just depends on the person, the sound, the thing. I have one client, for example, that's a craniosacral client, and I will work with her with sound as well. And as soon as the bowl drone hits, she feels her entire body drop in. And then I've also worked with people that as soon as I play the singing bowls, they want to leave the room.
Uh-huh, right, right.
So I've had both really drastic differences. And then some people feel really calm with just the chimes. Or some people really like the harp because having a melody actually calms them more than just the drone. So I think it's a little bit like when it gets more clinical with music therapy, for example, right? That you're diagnosing each person is going to respond slightly differently to the different sounds. And it can be, so I try to use many sounds when I'm doing my sound baths and not just one, because it tends to break up for anyone that is struggling with one sound or the other. And I sort of premise it the same way. And I would say, where you said it takes 8 minutes, I say in a lot of sound baths, it takes almost 30 minutes sometimes, where I feel everyone in the room like dropped in. It sometimes takes 30 minutes. Some of the people will have dropped in the first minute, some 10 minutes in, some 15 minutes in. But for the whole room, when there's 20 or more people, I generally sense that drop in happens at about the 30-minute mark. And not always, but often. And then that's when people are in that more lucid state where a lot of the music that will come through in the intuitive improvisation will be much more esoteric, is the way I say it, where it's more, oh, they're in a place of pure receptivity in that space too. And so in the beginning, when I always talk about changing the rhythm with the drone and going back and forth in the beginning, that helps the nervous system settle, which is what I've always kind of noticed, as you know. And if you alternate a rhythmic pattern with the drone, and each time the body settles a little bit more and the monkey mind quiets a little bit more. And then where it goes, you can more intuit based on the energy of the space and the room and the people in it in that moment.
Yeah, I like even getting slower
Mm-hmm.
and more mellow. And people feel that energy dropping over like even an hour. And it's like,
Yes.
oh, they totally go with it. There's one thing that I found that's really helpful for kids and even dementia patients to actually start getting over that basic thing that almost everybody has of being afraid to make sound.
Yeah,
And that is to do gibberish.
absolutely.
Gibberish is like anybody, I just did it in an open house just last weekend, and it's like everybody does it. And it's like you can get really into it. If you just go blah, 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 and then you go, well, let's do it for a half hour and see exactly what I could come up with. Just do it on your own while driving or in the shower. Blah, 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 right? That's like pure creativity right there.
Absolutely. I remember I did, who you know, Vicky Dodd, right? I did a workshop with her back in 2018. She was a master of gibberish. She could just take it off and she would just be on some other planet with her gibberish. And I always found that very inspiring. And
I
you're
love it.
just playing too. It's just
Right.
play.
Right. So when you are in the zone being creative, you go somewhere. It's like and it's interesting because people go into different places. Some people start accessing higher beings. Some people just go into this sacred space of peace. Where do you go? Because you're a different person when you start singing. There's like, oh my God, it's like you're just an angel.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I It's interesting you say that because my work the last few years, I feel like has been about bringing people into their body more as opposed to out of their body.
Mhm.
Right. And initially, when I started working with sound, it was very much like, oh, we're all in this realm and like leaving our body and having these like other worldly experiences. And the last few years, all my work is very much how am I totally present? So I would say it's that I go more into myself. I go more into my perception. I go more into my body. I'm very much open to everything around me, at the same time being very present in my vessel. Like my boundaries are very clear. The space I'm holding is clear. I've been feeling stronger in my physical body. And so I'm more in this where I feel almost multidimensionality, where I'm 100% connected to the earth, 100% connected to my crown and everything above. And the vessel is my body that feels super solid. And I would say I don't think I felt that before the last few years the same way. So I think that's what it is that I feel less like I'm going somewhere and more that I'm holding solid in this place of presence.
I've seen this energy a lot, and it's really interesting if I were to describe it. There's a touch of sadness in it. It's almost like pain, but it's not like the blues. There's and a lot of spiritual singers do it. It's like it's it's interesting that there's the sadness, which is almost like the minor key that brings you out of your head into your emotional body,
Mm-hmm.
but but it's not like sadness. But it's kind of like it's almost like it makes me think of Kuan Yin, right?
Yeah. I'm very
Tuning.
connected to her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But there's the light there at the same time.
I think it's the way I would describe it is that we are living in a very tumultuous time. There's a lot to be sad about, not just in our personal lives, but in the world right now.
Right.
And I think there's an element of what that feeling or the way I would describe it is acknowledgement, like acknowledgement that that is part of it. And I think that the bigger when you're creating space, it's like you're not just creating space for the creation, you're creating space for the full spectrum of human feeling. And I don't really know anyone that hasn't felt sad with what's happening right now in the world. And so I think that what I'm doing when I open that space in my body and I'm just allowing the vessel to happen because I don't know what'll happen until I actually sit and start creating, the vessel that comes through is so strong that it's acknowledging all of the feelings at the same time. And I think that that sadness is just, it's a mirror reflection, not just of my sadness about it, but of a collective sadness of a mirror. And when you acknowledge the feeling, it's a little bit like Inside Out, right? When you watch that movie. And you have to acknowledge the feeling in order for it to move and be able to experience joy in that space at the same time.
So, in this creative space, in brainwave states, there's two different states where it mostly happens. It happens in others, though. One is theta, which is kind of a spaced out state where you get downloads and such, which can be when you're just, really mellowed out. And then there's more of the awake state of alpha, where you get information and downloads there, almost creative solutions, which is more activating, which is,
I would say I'm mostly in theta when I'm performing because, or alpha, sorry. Got that backwards. Alpha when I'm creating, because when you're manning an instrument and technology and your voice and the things, there's a part of you that has to stay grounded. Right. And as soon as you go into theta, you forget where you are sometimes. Like
Right.
At least I do. And so it happens on occasion, but I try to kind of not go out into the ether myself, because I also feel when I'm a practitioner and I'm creating in that space, it's my job to be grounded, because my groundedness holds that space for everyone else to have their own individual experience.
You may never finish this. You may never finish the song.
Yeah, for sure. It'll just go on forever, right?
Right. I mean, there are people that go into other zones and just float around, and it's pretty cool. And then they come back, and it's like, whoa, yeah. It's interesting. I read Alice Bailey, the spiritual leader, spiritual teacher. I've been reading her for like 15 years. And right now, I'm in a whole section about creativity.
See, serendipitous.
Yeah, it's really, and what she says, which is really interesting, is to actually, when you have the intellect and mind also there with the creativity that's coming in, you can then work it and actually manifest things with that creativity. So it's not just bing, it's more bing, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's true. And it's interesting. I will share, because I know with the spring equinox event, and this will officially air after that event. And the song that's concluding it, that was coming to me as a deep intention, is called Joy is the New Rebellion, which I am going to release after the event. But it is this concept that actually it's the rebellion to find happiness within all of the chaotic emotions and things that are happening as well. So that vessel of creation. And it was interesting because this song was coming to me not when I was in my creative space, but it was coming to me when I was driving. So it was very interesting. I'm on my phone recording little voice notes to myself because the words are coming through and the music's coming through. So I'm singing on my little iPhone. Hopefully no one ever hears those voice notes because, like up the weird creative process. And then I came back to write it on the piano, and it's just, we're in this time where there's like so much creation and everything moves quickly. And sometimes the creation, like you said, will just come very quickly. Sometimes it's in little snippets and then it kind of pieces together. But the one thing they all have in common is they need spaciousness. And that's where, coming back to the workshop, like those are when I feel disconnected from my creative energy, that's what I do. Those very simple exercises that I was teaching, I do it myself. I'll sit and just, okay, I'm just going to tone with the Shruti box for a while and see and let the voice move and just do this for myself today. Or I'm just going to sit at the piano and play whatever comes out, even if it's not a song yet. And then I just sort of trust the snippets as they come, that they eventually piece together. So there's a lot of trust involved in the creative space as well, right? And when those voices come in, well, is this good enough or is this? And I've learned over the years, like even when the song came through, do I like it? Like, is this what I want it to be? And I was like, this just is what it is. Like, this is what spirit wants. This is what's coming through. And so I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to like use it. I'm like, I know that people will receive it the way that it's intended. And I also, I'm always reminded of one of the TED Talks that Elizabeth Gilbert did, where she talked about being the creative muse, or that what if, like in Greek mythology, we're just, it's on loan to us. We're able to, download this book or this music, but it really comes from the gods and not from us. We're just the vessel and we give it and then it's in the universe. And I always come back to that concept because sometimes we are the vessel and it's not our business how it's received or where it goes or how it does. Not to say that there isn't something about creative copyright, there is, and that's important. But really seeing ourselves as a vessel of what is coming forth rather than this deep emotional attachment to everything that comes forth and needing it to be perfect or needing it to be this. Sometimes, and this is a recovering perfectionist speaking here, you just have to let it be what it is. And that's also really important when you're, especially like, I love that you're working with kids and you're taking them into this creative, explorative space that way, because you cannot create if your brain is constantly judging what you're creating at the same time.
Right.
You just can't.
Right.
You're going to be blocked.
Right.
And that's a good way to get that voice quiet and come back into your own space.
Just excellent. Well, thank you for all you do. It's
Oh, thank
really,
you, David. Thanks for having me.
yeah, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
All right. Have a great day.